2022. And not only one of the Brazil teams, almost all of them.
Yes.
You
want me to go? No,
every time I like Brazil, I'm just going to shut up and just let him talk.
I'll let you do it this time. What do you want to say? You know what? Actually, never mind. Inco Gaming. Can we talk about them, please? Vitaly, I know we talked about them earlier, but like I feel like that after 2 matches, that is the biggest surprise for me. What Vitaly's being able to do.
For his first time playing at this level too, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, okay, you got teams like, your 4AMs was fan, you got yourself your Novas, you got so many teams that already been able to play and perform at this level, and yet he's just like, easy peasy, mate, PMGC, small event.
What's crazy too is this team has only been together for 5 months, and they're at the PMGC Grand Finals. It's wild.
Let's take a look at some of the overall rankings we have. This is the actual standings after match number 2. Ooh. So going into match number 3. Inco Gaming is at the very top with 47 total points. I was about to say 27. Well, no, 47 total points. Off of 7, it's just 1 spot down. In between there is obviously DRS Gaming with 29 points and DRS on 31. That is... Are you surprised so far? I know you are on 7, but Max, is there any team that potentially sticks out to you?
I mean, I think that also we got to keep in mind 2 games is going to be very volatile. We're going to see a lot of changes, but I would not have expected this leaderboard at the start, especially seeing like DRS get himself a chicken dinner, which is always good to see. But the thing is, a lot of the top contenders we were expecting to do well. Currently on the second page here, 7. Your Vampire Esports, your Nova, your IC, even the side of Fireflux Esports and Wolves and Geek Fam. Like so many teams, actually almost all the teams that I just almost said every single name on this page. It's like, it feels a bit weird, right?
I might get hated off for this, but I'm okay with seeing Nova in the second page because of what we usually talk about. I mean, we do have Sandhawk coming up, as you can see on your screen. They tend to start slow sometimes, and it's okay. It's okay for them to be in the second page as long as tomorrow they actually show up, and they usually tend to show up, right? At least that's what we've been able to see from them in the past. Now, another team that we did end up seeing on the second page that I actually want to talk about, it's Wolves. I feel like they are underperforming, even though, yeah, you said it's 2 matches, it can be very volatile, but this is not what we expected of Wolves, and I'm starting to wonder if it's maybe them not being able to play on those group stages, them not being able to have that extra information or being able to know what some of the other teams are going to be doing.
Yeah, I don't want to get any hate for this, but the only thing I remember of Wolves doing so far in these 2 games is when they needed their own teammate. I'm sorry, okay, but that's what I remember right now. So we need to see a little bit of a step up. But once again, we said we've got a lot of question marks around this team. The first time for them playing outside of their region. Yeah. Just got to give them a little bit of time. I'm sure we'll see Wolves, step up eventually.
How many games do you give them?
How many games do we have? No. I would say after day 1, we'll see more things happening in day 2, day 3.
Oh, 6 games, okay.
Let's take a look at some of the teams. And then we have teams to watch. Maxman is going to go with... Ooh, have you picked that team today?
Which one?
Buriram United. Have you picked that already?
I
don't think it is. I think it's the first pick. Because you've been talking about them for yesterday, for almost the whole day. And Inco and 4AM as well. So this time around, at least we have a lot of picks that are not not the same. And for you, 7, I want to talk about one specific team we haven't really talked about so far, which is Godlike Stalwart.
Yes. Now, I'm actually surprised you haven't picked them, and I think I have an idea why you haven't picked them.
You know why.
It's because you don't want to curse them, which I'm completely fine with. The reason why I picked them is because this is a team that usually tends to drop on boot camp. And since it is Sandhawk, and we only honestly play just once a day, there tends to be a little bit of hot drop. So I'm interested to see if anybody's going to maybe hot drop them.
Wasn't it Alpha 7 that did it? I'm just saying, it's going to be interesting.
I did notice we both picked Inco Gaming. Okay, all right.
I gave up. Like, okay, Brazil, okay, I'll pick Brazil.
What's your reasoning behind 4 Angry Men?
Behind 4 Angry Men, I think that the foothold they had around La Bandita, that we mentioned a little bit before that break, was really interesting. And I think that, first game, just a little bit silent. It's just one game, right? It happens. But that game, they were just like really reading that circle down to almost perfection. Sure, Inco were just, Vitaly was just a bit too strong at that moment. But I would say the macro play was strong. I want to see that potentially result in a chicken dinner. If they do it again, it could happen.
Yep, it could very well happen. So, teams to watch. With that being said, any straight up prediction in terms of Brazil? I want to get really quickly back to that topic. Is that going to continue? Because that is pretty much the region to watch right now. We have had teams to watch, but teams to watch. Is that going to happen? Quick yes or no answer. Is that going to continue for today?
Yeah.
Yes and yes. And with that being said, we're going over to John Allen and Black. Take it away, boys.
Well, no matter what happens, I'm sure it'll be plenty of excitement here on Sandhawk. Honestly, Sandhawk is always a very, very fun map, very interesting map, and a very quick map. So this could be really one of those maps where anyone can take the prize here. If you're slick with it, if you're fast with it, obviously Inco's very quick at getting towards that center circle, but it's very available to move around this area of the map quite quickly. So whatever we see, you know, it could be a little bit more difficult. Specifically with a confluence finish, right? For a team like Inco, there's no dedicated center to that circle.
No, it's a little bit more tricky to make that sort of call, and often you can really kind of get scuppered by that shift if it comes in too late, or if you've made the wrong call. I say wrong call. If you've made the unfortunate
the executive call,
the executive call to go to the place where the circle didn't end up going.
For sure, for sure. And I think that's what makes it very difficult. So this is kind of sometimes a toss-up. Sometimes it is just, I would say this game doesn't really. It favors more the fraggers than it does the IGLs a lot of times. I think you still have to have a very good IGL, but you also need to have those very good fraggers on the team if you want to perform and get those massive points available to you.
Teams loading on up. Good spirits in the S2G camp. Good to see, good to see. They've put in a bit of a shift so far today, so they can be happy with themselves. It's good to see that they keep themselves loose. That's what you want to see, especially on Sandhawk, right? You just talked about it. You do want to be a little bit more geared up for taking those fights, and the best way to do that is to stay loose.
Absolutely. If you don't have that pressure that's bearing down, and if you still feel like, you know, this is still first day, there's only really been 2 matches, these things can happen. We could be towards the bottom, but we could easily get a 30-point game and be towards that top on this 3rd match alone. So I think for some of these teams, it does become quite easy and quite quick to head towards the top of the table. Specifically for one of the better teams in the lobby that just hasn't been able to prove themselves or show what you've got yet.
Bathed in green, the stage leads us in to the jungle. Sandhawk will be match number 3 here of 18 in the grand finals. North side plane, all the way up from Mong Nai down towards Bantai on the south side. Again, fairly even cuts behind plane path so far. They have been getting it done for us. The Northwestern Island a little bit further removed from anything else, but they will be just fine to be able to get on over there.
It's been easy enough so far for a lot of these teams. I don't think anyone's really had too many struggles when it comes to drop spots. I think the only one that was really quite difficult was that plane path over on their angle, but even then, there was the capability, the fact that the circle only went fairly central anyway, so most teams could find the position they wanted on the map fairly quickly afterwards. And I think other than that, it's been happy. I think it's been a very, very fair day, and maybe it's going to take Sandhawk to break that tradition.
Influence came in close by to Alter Egos, who are in turn a little bit in the mix of it with Vampire on that northwestern island. Big wide split for Buradam on the southeast side. DRS and Sami. Wolves taking refuge between them and Geek Fam a little bit further north towards Ruins.
4am towards Camp Brava. This is another fair circle, I would say. I think this is a very, very fair circle. This is on probably the one island that is super calm, super chill. You know, you can even take docks rotations up towards that northern side. For anyone that's over towards the northwest, again, there's swimming positions to get in. And because there's so much of the circle still available, you can play around Quarry, saddle your way around the side, maybe find yourself in towards a position where no one's really playing. So I think for most of the teams here, this is happy days. And Inco, you know, may just be able to find themselves into a good position on the map quite quickly here, John.
See how fast they can get there. Probably quite important to be able to get there speedily, especially given their current location. They want to cross that river, but Buradam might be in their way. Might be able to catch a player off, though, on that flip side, so could be good either way. Teams on the northwestern island also looking for their route of egress. You talked about having docks rotations, so potential for them to swing all the way out in those boats. Have to wait and see, though. Time will tell. We're still very early doors.
Very early doors in the game. Still stage 1. Waiting for stage 2 to pop. Inco 47 points. DRS at 31. Not bad a performance from DRS, honestly. You look at the count so far, and 31 is a good, clear 10 points ahead of where, you know, a steady performance would be. So I think for DRS and A7, both doing very well. Inco, on the other hand, has just absolutely blasted out of control at the moment. So very, very well done for them. 47 points, almost 25-point average, which is really, really impressive here.
Alpha 7. In Lakawi on the eastern side, looking to try and grab some vehicles and get on out of there. A little bit more central potentially to try and keep things going, but still very slow and no early engagements here on Sandhock, and potentially one of the wildest of maps.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. For PMGC, most teams, most players are going to want to take this one smoothly, take it easily. Don't want anything too excessive happening during these games so far. IHC, we're looking for something big, looking for something good. Didn't come to bear though, 9 points. Almost that 4.5 point average. Fortunately for them, not being able to bring things up. I think they did have a good start to the day, but just weren't able to translate that across very well. Alter Egos, I think there's a lot of support here from the crowd, but currently only 3 points found. I do think they've been making the right moves though, and I think that as a team just coming in here to play with the big boys, I don't think they look out of place here. I think they still have made a marvelous amount of good work, some good rotations, some good positions around the map, and it is just a case of PMGC being very difficult. And again, Alter Egos could step up later today.
Certainly still plenty of opportunity. We've only seen 2 matches played all the way through. We'll be looking for a couple more today. 4 more to still be slated on the cards. There's Alter Egos taking the fight with Influence Kemin, one of the Brazilian teams who have been showing up here so far today. Another couple of shots landing, but no knocks just yet either way. The first scrap over towards the northwestern side of things. Law taken very, very low behind the rock. The forwards position found for Influence Kemin. Lil Boy on the off angle, absolutely lovely, sneaky little angle to be able to find the opening knock in the engagement. Law able to heal up as well, and now Influence Kemin can start to marshal their forces properly. Potato close, isolated as well from the rest of Alter Egos, and it's going well so far for Influence Kemin. Federal around the side of the rock, looks for the challenge, looks for the spray over towards Potato, has backup from the teammate as well. Will go down first though, and that's far from ideal. Potato spotted as Lil Boy hits the deck and forces his opponent to do the same.
Alter Egos, unfortunately, come to bear against a very, very difficult team to play against. Influence Kemin. I think they've been making some very intelligent moves, and the right moves as well, and I think it's only a matter of time before we see Influence Kemin towards that top side with a bunch of points found on a game. Chicken dinner almost certainly during this tournament. Looking at some of these rotations though, Vampire Esports heading over towards Tap Mock. T2K already found their way towards Camp Bravo. 4AM though, I think that Max is 100% right in the sense that, they really did leverage a very good position over Miramar, able to get themselves a lot of points in terms of eliminations. I think if they can play out that similar kind of thing, it just kind of shows how good they are in the lobby, how fantastic they have been in terms of hitting those shots, taking teams to task.
Beautiful shots there, spray down from Squash. They'll be able to open up on towards Buradam. Vitali though did get taken down in the meantime, and certainly a powerful player in that previous Miramar game. Looking to try and keep themselves alive, keep themselves going on the south side. And a reposition comes through. Nenabete picks Vitali back up, and they're up to 4 once more.
Again, this was going to be the typical rotation we talked about earlier. The docks rotation for Inco, they made it fairly quickly. This time not opting to go towards the central position of the map, instead taking their time with it, heading towards docks, try and remove Buradam. I don't think they're afraid to take these fights anymore. Currently, they do have some players in position to take shots, but this is going to be a difficult play for both these teams going forward. And again, with this circle that heads further towards the east, Buradam and Inco both have some strong positions to enter.
A lot of those central teams. Inco still with their sights set on My Name P. On foot, spotted out by Squash, but not given the angle. It's just sneaking away from him. Finally able to open up the cannons. We'll be able to get 1, 2, 3, and there's the last you need. They get the knock, but a lot of damage sent back towards Squash. It does result in a flush over towards Buradam, but still maybe a little bit more untidy than you would have liked for the side of Inco. However, they will maintain their lead at the top by quite the significant margin.
Yeah, not a problem for them. But gets away, though, up towards 4 AM. We know how good 4 AM can be when it comes to holding out teams. That's what we were talking about earlier. Alpha 7 with a central spot. Maybe looking to find themselves a win here. Brazil really looking on fire today on day one of the PMGC 2022 Grand Finals. Really nice to see it. And again, I've been saying it the entire year. I think this is the year where we start to see a lot of regions no longer becoming, you know, just dead weights in the water. We see so many different teams, so many different players all performing really well now.
Except for North America.
Well, don't say that, that's me. But also...
Look at a 7 over there.
Yeah.
No, even to be fair, even North America have had their moments. And we can't really talk coming from the UK. We haven't had the greatest of success.
We don't have anyone from the UK, so we're definitely the worst in that sense. We need some players, we need some boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be nice.
Need to step it up.
But in the meantime, I'm happy to support all these teams within this lobby in PMGC 2022. Everyone that's made it this far, all the players who fell along the way, did so much to get here in the first place. Again, there's been some great storylines throughout the entirety of the group stages. Some teams really pushing it to the absolute limit to get towards this position, knocking out teams that maybe everyone thought would be in the grand finals right at that last second. And I think, you know, one of those teams is Inco, and the fact that they've been able to come in today swinging is really nice because, you know, it's a team that knocked out Titans, HVP. You're like, maybe that last game was somewhat lucky, and also the fact that they had the exact amount of eliminations that they needed, and they had to perform here in the grand final, so it wasn't just, you know, a lost cause, and they have. So again, you respect the fact that they have been training in the background to get to this point, to get to this level where they perform on the grand final stage.
YHC have spotted Ravenclaw. Godless wants to line it up, opens, but Ravenclaw immediately repositions. Two players not quite able to get that team spray down. And Vampire now aware of the position to their threat on their western side. Godless looking in through those doors, peeking in, but not really taking any challenges just yet. Both teams on that northern side will start to skirt down that coast as quick as they decide to. Fireflux in the midst of it amongst the central cluster on the northern side of things with S2G out to their northern edge. 5th place right now for S2G, 19 points. They've had some good runs so far today. I feel like this is a team that most teams should be worried about.
Yeah, I think Fireflux too, but they really haven't shown us that big amount of firepower as of yet. Those team fights that we expect from Fireflux, I think playing on the edge at the moment isn't really helping them very much. There's a lot of these teams are already dead center on a central type gameplay. So I think for them heading in from the edge, already so many positions within the circle are taken up. So very, very, very frequently we are seeing Fireflux immediately get taken down. So this time around, they are hovering towards that line on the circle, which I think is a much better idea. It's still technically edge, but it's not what they were doing before, which was right on the edge of the blue instead.
Wolves, again, not the best of days so far. 1 point total, and they've just lost 3 of their players. Only Memory now left standing, and Inco, to be fair, I think this is the second time that they've taken the fight with this team and been able to win it on out. Really good result for them. Order up the top as well, spotted by Stalwart. As Nenebete cruises on through with the auto shotgun. Memory on the menu now. Needs to keep it together.
Oh my.
Will be able to do so. Nenebete shuts that one down faster than anything. 16th place, and Wolves drop down to the bottom of the tables.
I mean, Seven was saying they need to pick something up, and so was Max, in fact, and they just really haven't. I think for Wolves, that adaptation is not coming through as of yet.
Ooh. Paraboy looking to light them up here against Stalwart. Scry makes it across, and Paraboy just wants to slow things down in the smoke train there. Scry forced to reposition, forced to get up. And the nade's not quite finding it. Looking to be able to get a heal through as well. Has to reposition. Can't quite find the respite he was looking for. The rest of Stalwart fall back and do manage to get their full heals off. Action now across the way. Scry finally knocked as Action now can be that linchpin, that forward position for them, but needs to leverage properly. Action half HP. Fireflux aren't too far away. Potential to third party in the engagement, but the nades from Action need to be on point. He's only got one, however, as King has fallen for Nova in the back. Needs to hold this line on the wall. Paraboy will spot the player crawling out, and Action shut down.
Paraboy predict that entire rotation going through from Stalwart. He even looks for another. Really on the money there was Paraboy. Not a single movement or tactic was missed from him. Keeping the rest of his boys in check there. It's over towards that western side. I think for Stalwart it's going to be incredibly difficult now for them to be able to get through. And there it is, they're out 15th.
17 points so far on the day. So close in on their halfway mark for their matches that they will have played on the first day of proceedings. Buradam, they started on this eastern side near Lakawi. They've shunted a little bit further down towards Kampong, and now they're guarding out DRS, who have tried to swim all the way through from docks. And it's really not going their way. Killer flushed out. Kengzo picks up a point. Delta at the back. Rules really close to this cliff face now. I don't know if Kengzo knows about this player forwards, but might have a little bit of an inkling in a minute or two when he doesn't see any more of DRS towards the back. And you can see he's already scouting that one. Paraboy spotted. Fireflux are into this fight. I said they were close by to the engagement, and now they're starting to look to pick it up, but that's actually Geek to steal that one away. You can see them just a little bit further away on the top of that hill, on the back foot there. And Nova caught between Fireflux and Geek Fam. It's really sticky here. Order falls, and now it's just Jimmy remaining with the Tommy gun.
Indeed it is. Jimmy from Nova looking for a little bit more here. Obviously, Fireflux played a little bit further towards this edge side, towards the circle itself. They found themselves in position, and that's Nova out. 4 eliminations so far found.
That is not quite the performance they were looking for, but Geek found 5 eliminations now on the game. All 4 of them alive. They can turn their attention to Fireflux. DRS are out. That's the second place team on the overall standings right now. And Alpha 7 with a chance to leapfrog. They are currently tied with DRS, and the chicken dinner is the tiebreaker between them. So now Alpha 7 can start to try and open up a little bit of a lead against them as they perform further into this game. Ketch, the forward position for Fireflux in the engagement with Geek Fam, has been knocked. And Solus, in the meantime, by Yuhai, spotted out and dispatched. Solke, another casualty now in the engagement as Alpha 7 chime in.
Alpha 7 looking really good on this match to take some big numbers home for themselves. 2 eliminations so far. S2G above them. This is the difficulty, though. This is a strong team from Turkey looking to leapfrog, take over this position. Inco biding their time down towards that southern side, and it's the east edge that looks absolutely treacherous, dangerous as anything. Buradam, 4AM, T2K, Vampire Esports, and IHC still battling out for a position on this edge.
Schweppes cuts down Demo as he tries to leave the beach. Will not be able to go any further as he picks up the point for it. Vampire surviving with 1 now. Just Schweppes, but the blue zone is there. T2K not having a successful cross. Schweppes may be a position that is unknown for the rest of the teams further into the circle. See if he can get a little bit further, but T2K might be on the lookout for him. Geek Fam take a knock as they start to move in towards this next part of the circle, but Alpha 7's position is nigh on unassailable, Blank.
Yeah, this is the walls that will just slow you down. A lot of this is going to be fighting more against the compound than it is fighting against Alpha 7. That's the difficulty. Inco, though, will send themselves directly into this engagement. Carrillo, Mafioso, all looking up towards that northern side. And Inco, just a quick rotate, a quick scout, get the bearings, find out what's going on. And I think right now, though, Alpha 7 is completely preoccupied with that northern side.
They've spotted S2G, and they're taking shots out that way as well. Rig forcing S2G to move along that close side of the hill, which forces them to take the fight with Alpha 7, which allows Inco to move on through. It's all swings and roundabouts. It's all impacting one another. And Geek Fam cannot quite bring out that challenge. Pombet stays alive for the home team. And top 8 for them.
Pombet looking for at least 1 more here. Geek. It's going to be unlikely they'll be taken down, but at least 1 is found there. Pombet might not have found themselves the flush, but it is something.
Ooh. A nade comes on through, and 2 for Revo. A double knock over towards Inco. You said they weren't paying attention to the south. Maybe they don't need to now because Revo's on the job. Absolutely blasts them to pieces. Taken in half now, decimated. And now it's a 1-2 Brazil table with Alpha 7 racking up the points. Finally, Alter Ego eliminated. 8th place now. 7 teams remain, 21 players. 4 players alive on both 4 Angry Men and S2G.
For Inco, Nenebete Vitali, that is the last thing you want is Revo. When he looks so good, his nades are just completely spectacular. Very hard to take him off that kind of streak. I remember getting him the 4K grenade over in the group stage in that last chance that just sent them right straight through to the grand finals. Just looked phenomenal at the time. And again, Alpha 7 will not be leaving this compound. GeekFam, S2G, T2K, Inco, 4AM all have a very, very difficult road ahead of them, but it all ends in Alpha 7.
GeekFam with 10 eliminations so far. Going into this game with 1 point, this is what you wanted to see. Especially on Sandhawk, it is that wildcard map. Rack those performances up if you can get them. 4 Angry Men, 6 eliminations of their own. We'll play on with 3 from the south side, near to the duo remaining from Inco, as Geek now have a building in the circle.
Just to get up there, Barivo's already sent the God Nade over towards this position before. He's had practice, he's ready to do it again. Micah wants nothing to do with it. Revo sends a couple of sprays on towards that position. 4AM maybe he's going to take this opportunity as MWWX actually finds Vitali in the back. This is really good there for 4AM.
Mafioso doesn't get knocked, a really important factor there for Alpha 7's hold, especially against S2G as Silas gets spotted, but there's an AWM in play. It sees Hansi and claps him, but unfortunately it's just not enough. There's not that many barrels on it, there's only the one, and Alpha 7 will just shut them out of the circle.
Alpha 7 not taking any chances here. They know they wanted a big game to compete with Inco, but Inco already find themselves up towards that top 6 is really still good news, and 5 eliminations found for themselves. Still going well. Alpha 7 on the other hand, 8 eliminations, 4 alive, almost certainly a chicken dinner. Getting a few more eliminations on this game would be great to send them towards that top standing.
Certainly would. At the start of the game, the gap was 18 points between Alpha 7 and Inco. 3 of those points have been closed. So they would need a whole heap more, but you've got to start somewhere. A nade in from Carrillo into the inside of the building, but Yuhai already repositions towards the outside. Nenebete falls, that's the last down from Inco. 6th place, 5 elims. Again, solid result. 1st, 2nd, 5th. Excellent, excellent start to their day. What a 3 games they've had. Alpha 7 lose their first player in this situation. Carrillo does get knocked now. Revo looking to go for the res as Geek Fam move in.
Geek Fam, Yuhai and Micah. 49 elims total for Yuhai, 48 elims total for Micah. Over towards their particular group, in which case they put up a massive 292 points together with the rest of their team. This is the dream duo that you would want together for Geek Fam to try and finish this out.
With the changes that were implemented onto Sandhawk circles, the damage is too great to out-heal, which is why we've only got 3 teams remaining now in Zone 8. 4 Angry Men under pressure. Geek Fam going down as well. Alpha 7 start to ramp up for their final shout. 3rd place with 11 eliminations for the Malaysian squad. Geek Fam are doing so well in this Sandhawk game, and they definitely needed it. However, Alpha 7, the bell of the ball now. 2 players up and kicking as they flush out 1 and find another knock over towards 4 Angry Men. Just Svan left standing between them and the chicken dinner with 13 eliminations. They snap it on up, and it's a Brazilian back-to-back.
That seemed absolutely easy there for them. Really well done to Alpha 7. I mean, they picked up a very strong compound. The circle kept coming over towards them. Revo was very quick to deal with the competition in Inco that came up from the south side. I said they were paying way too much attention over towards S2G, but Revo quite quickly and simply dealt with the threat from the south. And I think for Alpha 7, that from there, it was just a case of clearing out those players on each and every single side. Obviously, this is a team that's extremely serious. This is what they expect to put up. This is what the kind of numbers that they want to see during these games. And I think for them, this should see them now in first place, just about. With Inco maybe still holding on to it with that result they had. But again, we'll find out over on the desk later.
It will be very, very close, actually. I think the points will be fairly similar. I don't think there was an 18-point differential between those two teams, but it is still going to be a nice little chunk taken out of it. Either way, we will see that Brazilian 1-2 position on those tables, which the region is going to be extremely happy about. The only way I think Alpha 7 weren't going to win that is if Inco somehow decided, you know what, we're just going to go all the way in right now.
Yeah.
But that would have been a bad decision for Inco to make, given the information they had.
It would have been very hard as well. I mean, they were delayed so long by Buddadam, as well as some of the other teams over on that coastal side like 4 AM. So for Inco, there was a lot going on in terms of researching around that area. What could they do? Where could they go? And I'm now casting to the beat of the drum behind me, which is fine. I'm okay with that.
S2G keep up the pace a little. Bit as well. They did manage to stay alive for fairly long into the game. 4 Angry Men.
I was asking you two, you beautiful analysts, is there going to be domination continuously throughout this day from Brazil? And it has happened. Look at this. Alpha 7 takes home a massive game, 29 total points, and that especially is in a fashion that was, I want to say, I was so impressed by how they controlled that compound, how they swamped out of it as well, took control of both sides and pretty much disrupted the play of everyone else. Was a masterclass to some degree.
I'm not going to lie, I would love to be able to say do Brazil all day, every day. I'm scared my voice will not keep up. I wish I was John Allen. I really hope I had those vocal cords, Seven. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But it is Brazil all the way right now.
They're performing so well. And I mean, I got to give some credit to GeekFam. GeekFam being able to get 12 eliminations. Yes. The aggressiveness that we saw out of this team, especially with Sandhawk. And this is something that, if we go back, we were kind of talking about it too, saying how some teams can actually use Sandhawk to break off that bad stretch that we're having in those first 2 matches. I feel like GeekFam was kind of falling within that, right? They weren't really where they probably wanted to be. And for them to be able to do that after Sandhawk, that's going to be massive. And they were also able to take on Nova and beat them.
Yeah, not only Nova, there was also Fireflux. Like, they were making sure, okay, if you're on the western side, we want to have we want to be the only team having that high ground position, getting that information from the high ground position. If you're next to us, you're not going to be a neighbor for long. You're going to get that, the exit letter pretty damn soon. So really strong performance from Alpha 7. Once again, they got a second place and a chicken dinner back-to-back. They're looking good. I understand why they're one of your favorites now. I get it.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting. You were just talking about the western side of things, and I mean, the original fight that started that whole skirmish on the western side, that was Nova against Like Stalwart, wasn't it? And that was a completely interesting fight because I just want to highlight a specific player, Parabol, that held on towards that wall side of the compound, right, that crossing on the street, and he held that super important eastern flank play. I'm not sure who it was from Like Stalwart, but he got that frag, and I think that kind of really solidified their position on the western side, and I was really rooting for them to, capitalize on towards it, but they didn't in the end, did they? It was Fireflux that came in as well.
Yeah, but with me, I actually want to talk about Godlike Stalwart a little bit. I feel like they're underperforming in a big way.
Agree.
I know you haven't been picking them because you don't want to curse them, but I think it might actually help them out a little bit, Max. I think we might end up working on a reverse curse here if you actually end up picking them. This is not the Godlike Stalwart that I expected to see. I feel like they are being a little bit passive. Yeah, they did go into that push, right, into Nova. It didn't end up working out for them. I'm just not happy with their current performance.
I would have to disagree a little bit. I don't think it's them being not aggressive enough. I just have the impression the way they approach the fights is a little bit all over the place, and of course that does come off as being not aggressive, even though they're trying, but it's not the best way to get in every single circle. Like here, you're taking a 5 versus Nova, there are 4 players across the road, you're crossing one by one, you're giving it almost to Nova for free to some extent. So I do want to see just some better setups from them. We know they can do better. Unfortunately, it's a 3-day event. Don't have much time to get the impact, so we need to start to see some results right now after we hit the 50% mark of day 1.
You guys were talking about Fireflux. You guys were talking about at least one of the Turkey teams, S2G. They have been quiet, but they have been consistent. I would like to see a little bit more eliminations out of them, but they have put themselves now, as you can see here in the overall ranking, in 5th place. Alpha 7 now jumping up and getting that first place. 58 points. Inco Gaming there with a 56, and 4 Angry Men with the stretch that they currently have with 2 great games, 2 games with actually a lot of eliminations going for them. Push themselves up to 3rd place, Max.
Yeah, pushing up onto Inco's position too. They're like, hey, we know that position is good. We're going to full send it. We're going to be careful if there's a DBS in play for Nenebete, but 4AM, that's one hell of a comeback here.
Yeah, but talking about Inco for a second here as well, I really expected them to have actually have a better shot at winning this game originally, looking at the first 2-3 circles than A7 even, because they were coming in from the pretty much from the clearest side there is. They were coming in from the southern side, and they took one out from Buriram, I remember. And at that point, I thought, wow, if they are fast on their rotates, they pretty much have got the best control of the southern side, and really can, capitalize on towards that. But they didn't really, unfortunately. And in the end, someone kind of shifted towards the northern side as well.
I really like their position. The thing is that 4AM, once again, being so opportunistic. They were like, this is a great position. The circle's not coming their way. We're going to try and defend it. But on the lower side, still Nova not able to climb their way up here.
I know, I said I wasn't surprised to see them there. I kind of want to see them at least in 8th place. It's just it makes me so uncomfortable seeing Nova in that 2nd page, even though I know that they have the potential to just come tomorrow and end up pushing themselves possibly all the way up to top 3. It's just not settling to see them there. And something that I also wanted to point out there within that overall ranking with what I was talking about was S2G, only 9 eliminations. I feel like their fragging power has to start showing now, because that's just not going to be able to cut it. Yeah, you might be able to be consistent in regards to placement, but the eliminations are just not consistent for me.
Well, I don't know if you agree, Falex. I would like to see another region than Brazil get himself a chance.
Whoa.
I'm not saying I don't want Brazil to do well. I want to see just other regions, especially, and I mentioned this to you, Seven, a lot of times, I want to see Thailand win. Right, we've got Nepal win, we've got stuff for Brazil win. I want to see a Nepali, Thailand chicken dinner coming out eventually here. I want to see a Buriram win. That'll be a good one to come up.
I want to see an Indonesia win.
Yes.
And I want to see an Indonesia win.
I'm with you on that one.
Because of how hype the crowd is.
There's no game happening and they're still cheering. that's to tell you.
They're not even only cheering, they're beating their drums. They are screaming, dancing as well. I saw some people dancing over there, which is, I kind of just want to shout out to them. If you ever see the stream, shout out to you guys. I mean, I love what you're doing over there.
Why would they be watching the stream that they're like, oh, I'm watching the stream?
No, maybe one day.
You'll be surprised. There'll be that one guy that just wants to be on YouTube chat.
Got to support the viewership. Let's go.
Coming back to who actually won that game, because we have only barely touched on A7, and I feel like we've not done them enough justice on this test so far. A7, how they controlled that compound, how they controlled everything around that compound especially. What stood out to you the most, and maybe was there anything particularly looking forward for? Because, for example, something that I have noticed, Carrillo after the game, he did not look happy at all. He was,
Yeah.
I think he was devastated that he got flushed there in the end, and it did not seem like he was in a good mood.
I gotta say, I appreciate the pronunciation. Carrillo.
Yeah.
Hey,
Carrillo.
A roll that R pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think that I mean, Carrillo sure unfortunately got taken out a little bit early in the game. But the way they control that trifecta compound, 2-1-1 split, making sure no team had the opportunity to take that compound away, that was the key play from them. They know so well how to play those specific areas to make sure that if a team breaches them, they will be ready to defend that spot.
I felt like the main one for me was Revel with that nade, that amazing nade on Inco Gaming. As Inco Gaming was thinking about maybe making a push towards them, Revel was like, hold up a minute.
Wait a minute.
Something ain't right here. He threw the net and ended up knocking 2 of their players, and I felt like at that point, Alpha 7 being comfortable. And going back to what you were saying there with Carrillo, I feel like that's how he always looks.
That's just how he always looks. Is that just his resting
it's just
face?
like,
This is Carrillo happy.
Yep.
Well,
It's like,
quickly, coming back to your teams to watch. Maybe you know what? Just pick one and tell me maybe the reason for it. Actually, no. I want to hear your reasoning behind AE. Is that something you actually feel like? Is that just more like you want to see it?
it's because
It's
of
more
this.
like we want it.
Okay, it's more.
It's those guys over there. I blame these guys.
I understand.
I
Well,
mean, this is how hyped they are with them going out in what with it 15th
I'm kind of
position.
shocked, am I?
Yeah.
Imagine how hyped they'll be when they get a chicken dinner.
Oh, man.
That's gonna be epic.
I'm actually intrigued by your T2K.
TGK, you know what? I want to pick every team at least once. I don't really have a specific reasoning.
Professional analyst.
Check.
Just like those are done. I think I got like 11 teams to go. We'll get there. we'll hit the
Okay,
ratio.
if that's the case, I picked DRS because of how well they did early on in the first Erangel. I want to see if maybe it was a one-off for DRS or if they can actually duplicate that.
Oh, back to Wrangle. True. Yeah. What's your team to watch? You don't,
My team to watch.
It's always us.
Yes,
no?
I know.
What
I know,
about you?
Okay. My team to watch. Look, you hate me for saying Paraboy in the show match, but I kind of want to say A7 here as well now. I know it's obvious, but I kind of do feel that way.
Alpha 7. Okay, we're friends. We're friends.
Yeah, I
we're
know.
great
I kinda wanna
friends.
go with that
Let's go,
exactly.
baby.
But no, seriously, I mean, I said it before the tournament as well. I don't know if you guys remember, but I said if A7 gets off to a good start, I know they've got the individual power. I know they've got the will. I know they got plenty of support back home as well, and also here in the stadium.
Yeah.
And they are the kind of team I expect to. I know I also said I don't have complete, insight into how that team works dynamically between the players, but I felt like they're the ones that really just thrive on good results. They thrive on enthusiasm. They are the ones that thrive on confidence, as opposed to, for example, Nova. They're just always good.
Yep.
With that being said, oh, look at this. We have them, just now that we're talking about them, we actually have them in the picture as well. Either way, we do have the next match coming up in just under 2 minutes, and with that, we are heading over to the casters. John Allen in black.
We are getting into match number 4, back over to Erangel. We've had our Sanhok, we've had our fun blank. Now we've got to get serious.
But what do you mean? Sanhok is very serious. It's serious business, actually. But yeah, I think I'd completely agree with Alex. I think that, when you look at a team like Alpha 7, they are massively momentum-based. I think this is a team that, once they get rolling on the tracks, very hard to derail this train. So I think they're going to continue going at this type of speed, chugging away, getting those points. Inco, doesn't really bother me too much. I think that they're almost sorting out this problem that they had before, which is, they get a couple of good matches at the start of the day, and then things start to taper off a little bit. That's the typical Inco play, but I think what we see now is those 2 good matches, and then consistent results, right? That's the big kicker, and it's very difficult to catch a team like that who puts up 2 very good performances and then is just 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, 10 points. You can't really profit over the top of that. The team continues that way because you're waiting for the opportunity, really. If you're a team underneath them, you're waiting for the opportunity where, yeah, you can get a great game and get some consistent points, but they're forever ahead of you. It becomes a real slog.
For teams that are looking to place in the top, you're looking at around about from a 12 to a 15-point average. That's what you're going to be looking for over these 18-game sets. And if you're able to hit 10 points as an average on your bad games, in quotes, right, your bad games, absolutely you're going to have the firepower to be able to blast out and put those 5 extra per game on your really good ones.
Absolutely. So we are now halfway through the day, I would say. I think, obviously the show match, 7 matches to play today, but 6 of those are the only ones that count towards the PMGC. 3,000 was taken home by Fireflux earlier for the 1v1 show matches. However, now going forward, we're going to be looking at the remainder, you know, the meat and potatoes now. Erangel, Miramar, Erangel. This is where you're going to be able to pick up a lot of those consistent points we were talking about before. Hopefully, some of those teams towards the bottom can maybe change things up, because right now we're having a very top-heavy lobby in terms of points.
Sosnovka military base playing all the way up towards Kameshki for match number 4 to kick things off. Nobody really dropping on C block so far in the games today, but it looks like that might change as Vampire out very, very early, but there's a team to join them as well. Sat there, it's going to be Geek Fam going to be dropping out early as well. We've seen Novo occupied once or twice, but there could be a little bit of argy-bargy as Stalwart are out over it as well.
Again, very similar playing path to the start of the day, as you're saying. A fair few teams heading down towards Sosnovka. This could be a bit of a difficulty, John. I think you already mentioned this, and I think that, you know, if they can take two sides of Sosnovka is absolutely fine. It looks like Geek Fan, Vampire obviously heading towards Primos. That's their usual spot. Stalwart down towards Novo. Very typical spot there for Stalwart. Very happy to move either over the Western Bridge or over the Eastern Bridge. This works out very, very nicely for them. Fair few times. And IHC, who had, well, looked pretty good at the start of the day, honestly. They looked fairly clean with it, but then they started to fall off a little bit, you know? It's really only been a soak in the rain since then.
Keeping themselves from being mucky as they're going to have to go forwards into this Western Circle. Pretty hard shift here, Blank, at the start of things. Certainly going to be a competition to be able to get out to that west side.
Absolutely. And they want to win that competition. No awards yet, though. Only the competition. Only the competition here to get through over towards that western side. Massive clump of teams over on the eastern side. I think this is where it becomes a little bit more difficult, because there is a lot of these difficult rotates over towards Rozhok, down towards Ruins. It becomes complicated. There's a few hurdles you'll have to pass. A lot of these teams become hurdles in of themselves, and leaping over them isn't going to be as easy as before. Has he got some height on him?
Nenabete looking to get a little bit of height here against Godless. A shotgun and a pistol in the arsenal here. Godless is left a little bit isolated, but the rest of the team may be looking to provide some backup. We'll have to wait and see how that one turns on out. The Sharks are swirling. T2K have got their own scrap to be dealing with. A really nice pickup there, and timely too for the shotgun. Able to load it on up as well. Looks to unload 1 and 2, a third and a fourth, but it's not going to be good enough to find the knocks. Fortunately though, T2K have got a team, and they will be pushing forwards with Legend seemingly unarmed in this scenario. Not too sure what you were going to do on the off angle there. Lutz is coming on through as we head back over to Godless with IHC in on the ground floor. Things are really popping off. And two sides of the map here, some really cheeky little hot drops. That's what happens when you have early circles on a hard shift. In comes the backup from IHC now as Squash on the ground floor taken low. Godless held out for long enough in the meantime as Nenebete goes up to the top floor and will be able to get the flush. Losing a teammate, not quite just yet. Nenebete still with the auto shotgun, playing around the side, looks for the reload as well, and manages to get the magazine back into the breach. Turns the corner and shut down by Ziol. Flush goes through as well, and IHC claim the building.
Squash left, down and low. IHC looking for a little bit more. Unfortunately, it will be Vitali and Becker left to continue. Lutz, though, we always say this guy is an absolute specialist when it comes to long-range shooting. He's the sniper of the team, but even if you put that revolver in his hands, you know, I was feeling Western. I was feeling Clint Eastwood. The hay bale started to just pass through. He was blasting. It was very fun to watch. I enjoy that. Don't often see someone be effective with the revolver. He put his little tan cap on, jumped off the horse, his spurs jingling as he took down the players over on T2K.
This buggy ain't big enough for the both of us.
This vehicle definitely isn't. That's for sure. Now Fireflux kind of have to just send away Soulless. Very low. Turkey on turkey action here. I mean, I had that at Christmas, but we're having it here over at PMGC 2.
I only had a chicken.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, only 4 meat
Shame.
eaters at my Christmas.
Shame.
Only four.
Shame.
It only had to feed 4.
Shame.
There's no point in having a turkey.
Shame.
Unless you have to feed more
Look,
people.
I was actually saying, why don't we just have a chicken this year? But then I thought to myself, it's
I would
tradition.
like to eat turkey for 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I made curry, sandwich,
That's pretty good.
2 chicken dinners.
Oh.
Yeah.
Out of turkey.
Well, no.
How'd you do that?
No.
That's wow.
I'm thinking about
impressive.
PUBG. I took 1 turkey.
I took 1 turkey.
I got 2 chickens.
That's how it works, right? You put 2 chickens together and you get a turkey.
Yeah,
Or is it
absolutely.
3 chickens together and you get a turkey.
3 chickens together, you get a turkey. But yeah, so that was good. It was good times. I mean, I was meant to go see my parents, you see, but that didn't happen. So then I was like, well, I've got a lot of turkey left. I'm gonna go for round 2.
He's turking.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the game. No more turkey shenanigans.
Oh.
No more shaming you.
Tell that to S2G.
Well, I know, because these guys are looking for a little bit more right now. I think for S2G, it's gone quite well, this game, so far. Good amount of work done. I think that they're keeping up pace. It's this top 5 that we're kind of looking at, but almost sneaking in there in 6th place, 27 points. That's good. That's great news. Geek Fam also, I think we looked at this team and we're like, oh, well, they're not performing amazingly. They're not performing super powerfully. However, if you look at them, 23 points in 7th place is pretty good.
Chelsea will be shut down there, spotted and taken apart. IHC have been pretty brutal so far in this game. They managed to pull one off of... I think they got one of Inco, maybe a couple more actually, by the looks of their elimination tally there. Inco down to 1 player, picking off another from S2G just then. T2K have suffered, but I think they're in a different area entirely. That's over in the northern side, with just Rig remaining in Severny. They'll have to move down south further. Alpha 7 now in the lead with 58 points total. Just the 1 ahead of Inco, but with 4 players alive, their potential in this game is going to be a lot higher moving forward. Alpha 7 currently moving on the eastern side, just north of Farm, redistributing, grabbing a new vehicle. Doesn't have the fuel to get all the way to where he wants to go on this time around. DRS ahead of Alpha 7, and a little bit further to the south, they'll be playing closer to the coastline as they go for that central area.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a little bit tough. Again, going through DRS, as well as the guys from Stalwart. That is not an easy crossing, is it, John? Honestly.
It's not.
These 2 teams proven themselves. DRS fallen off a little bit. No L plus ratio as of yet. So we're kind of even right now. I think they're still winning. Still looking good. 4th place.
It's a 1-to-1 right now.
I do think that 4AM is kind of like a surprise pick, but Maxman.
Maxman.
The Maxi Man, right?
Maxi move.
He always trusted in the 4AM.
He did.
I respected that. I liked that from him.
Respectable.
He knew that this is going to be the comeback from this team.
Smart.
And again, we were talking about at the beginning of the day, it was a shame not to see them in 2021 because they did so well in 2020, right? 2022, 4AM is back, and I'm happy to see it. 3rd place, though Inco and A7 would not have, well, actually A7, yes. Inco probably further down for me, honestly, and I think that the current performance of 56 is kind of ridiculous. Again, only 1 player remaining now, so potentially falling off the leaderboard just a little bit, but it's going to be difficult for some teams beneath them to catch up towards that 56.
Circle back to the mainland, keeps the land on in, so we're not going to have a weird crunch on proceedings. Not just yet. Geek Fam on 4 alive. Still early doors on the game. 56 players remaining. 2 teams, though, down to 1 player, which is quite significant. Those hot drops really punishing so far into the game. Central locations, again, occupied by Wolves, by Nova as well. And are returning to the center as well for the Alter Egos.
I think for Alter Ego, currently 4 points so far. It's not amazing, but again, you look at Alter Ego, you look at Fireflux, again, 2 very good teams. And I think that with 4 points, it's not really indicative of where they can go, where they've come from. I still think there's good potential, good chance these teams to really step things back up again. Alpha 7, however, 58 points and looking to streak out further now is great news. I think this is, again, they're a momentum-based team with 3 matches still left to go, John. This could be easily A7 finishing the day on 100 points.
If they can keep it going. That is that question, though, because if you're a momentum team, it kind of bites both ways, right? Because, sure, when you get going, it's great. Inco go down. It's good news for them for opening a lead. But if you struggle to gain that momentum back when you lose it, that is equally just as punishing and can be the other side of that coin.
Absolutely. I think there's a I think right now, on that momentum point, I think Alpha 7 will continue like this for the rest of the day. Or at least get some decent, consistent points. If they can push that 100-point mark, that would be ideal, because that's really what you want to do with this momentum right now. You want to take that velocity and send it straight towards those high placements, because if tomorrow, like you say, John, we do have that fall from grades for Alpha 7, they need that big buffer. That is what you have to consider when you're a momentum team. But I think for Alpha 7, at a grand final, it's going to be really hard to take that away from them coming into day 2.
Influence Kemen moving to the compound south of Everest. Fireflux have a challenge of their own, and it's IHC who have been fairly punishing to the teams they've come across so far. 4 eliminations this game. Solk forwards, position against Demo, burns the ridgeline away and forces him to the right. Nades pouring in from Ketch as well to really do the damage, and Demo does dive down into the ditch. Alex sailing on past, can't really do too much about it. Ziol into the building, Solus ready with the nade, looking to cook it up. Drops it down low and actually into the gap between the buildings to stop any sort of push. Alex on through as well, forces Solus out the back, who's cooking a nade himself, wants to post that one back in through the window. DBS around the corner, does so much work and finds a second as well. Oh, Ziol through the window, Solus claims it. Excellent hold.
6 elims now. All we're talking about, saying that Fireflux could easily bring this one back around right now. With that kind of position, over towards the northwest side and an easy enough rotate downwards. Fireflux has a good chance now. Wolves versus Alter Egos, though. Picking them apart slowly but surely, and 4AM also getting involved on the action. Really unfortunate for Alter Ego. They had a very nice central spot, now down to just 2 players.
IHC were on for a decent game there as well, but they did fall to Fireflux. Not good. IHC kind of needed that one to keep themselves in the conversation. Inside of the Gatka compounds, Nova find themselves a nice little stronghold on the south side of the next circle, but they are close to Stalwart, close to Buradam as well. You've got Alpha 7 on their northern side. Slap bang in the center, it's the remaining duo from Alter Egos, but as I said, they are a duo. They are only 2 remaining. With the Wolves close by, I'm sure they're going to fear the moon as it comes to Wax.
Stalwart down towards their south side. Nova also in that position. Now look at Nova. Defending champions right now, 13 points, 12th place. I really don't think that they expected this kind of opposition coming into the finals. I really do think that they were potentially looking at 4AM, looking at Buradam, maybe Influence Kemen, but we've got so many different faces here up towards that top side, and Nova really hasn't been able to catch up too much. Again, Nova is this team that suddenly out of nowhere starts popping off, and again, we see it on the screen right now versus Buradam.
Landing the shots, but both of those reses are being stuck right now. So hopefully Buradam can get both of their downed players back to feet and stay up as 4. They will be able to do that. Trot on they will into the game. Kengzo on the back, looking to just heal up. Sky only as well. Wants to replenish that health bar. It will slow them down. Fortunately for them, they're very, very central in this circle, so they can afford a lot of time to be invested to keep themselves at strength. DRS, not so lucky. They have to push in and behind Vampire.
It's going to be a difficult push here. Vampire, though, I think this is a team that would like to step up a little bit already. DRS takes shots. Stoned, very unwilling to allow this kind of push to come through. Right now, they're in a really tough spot at the moment. It's a good position on the map in terms of being able to take these fights with teams stuck on the western side, but it's not a place you want to remain for very long. Already you can see Fireflux have eyes down towards their position. They're going to have to move soon. 4AM also were holding on that roadside, but looks like they're going to move further towards that eastern edge. Alter Ego stealing Gatka, and they will now share it with 4AM.
Crash comes through to bring the remaining duo from 4AM into the fold, playing 3-on-1 with an off-angle split in the compound, in the buildings, against the standoff south of them. Pretty powerful, all things considered. Kashyap is split from the rest of the squad. Wolves, bottom of the tables right now. 2 points total when you include the elimination they've got this game so far. And in Gatka, they will find themselves locking horns with 4AM and Alter Ego. The team that, if they take down Alter Ego, they might be able to leapfrog them fairly fast as well.
I mean, for Wolves, it's really not been a great start to the day, but with 4 players here, a strong spot towards Gatka, you will have to face off against 4AM, who are looking to maybe this game get ahead of Inco, sit themselves in second place. Be very, very nice there for 33 Span and the rest of his team. Being able to recreate this core around him. Field this fantastic team on 4AM.
Vampire moving forwards, find a building that they were looking for. It's a really strong compound, that one, given the circle, given the lay of it. A lot of oversight for Vampire to be able to hold here on the fields around them, but unfortunately Fireflux have other ideas. Stoned gets lined up on, and the crosshairs will snipe him down. Luckily they are in the building and can get a little bit more of a foothold here. Unfortunately though, Schweppes is there and will be spotted. That's Geek Fam to be chiming into the engagement from further into the circle. Sure, they might have a lot of sightlines away from them, but there's a lot of sightlines towards them and people are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, for Vampire right now, this is all about just restabilizing. There's not really many teams that can take a full-on push towards their position, so this is the main thing. This keeps Vampire in safety for a little bit longer. They can pull the cape around them, stay elusive and out of the way. And then for a team like DRS, who's most likely going to have to move soon, in the position that Vampire currently hold, they have great oversight over towards any kind of push over the fielded area. So Vampire, it doesn't necessarily keep them in this next circle, but what it does do is allow them to clear effectively. Getting to this position, though, was risky, was dangerous, but they pulled it off.
Starting to tick on up on the health bars as well. For Vampire, Nova want to skirt around to the northern side. 3 players alive for them, with Paraboy going down. The claimant of their only elimination so far in this game. Stoned again, getting spotted, getting taken down, but once more they can regroup around it and try and keep themselves as 4. The team from Thailand wants to stay alive as long as possible. 11th place right now, their countrymen Buradam 6th place overall, currently with a lead of 12 points over their counterparts.
There's 2G on that northeast side. Can't forget about them just yet. Still have a good chance to send themselves flying up towards the top side of the lobby. Alpha 7, though. That momentum still going. Looking to take the battering ram as it swings back and open up this game, open up the gates towards another chicken dinner here. 0 eliminations, so been very patient so far. Getting ready for that combo hit that we talked about earlier from Alpha 7. Don't want to pull the trigger too early for them. So much space towards the center of the circle, just not taken up purely because of the horrid terrain in this area. There's still some hillside, some staging around on the north side, the east side, south side, and west side, but the closer we get towards the center of this map, the more hectic this game is going to become.
Once people are inside that circle, it will become a lot more playable, but as long as people are on the outside, as you said, with those high ground positions, it's going to be really, really tricky. Speaking of outside positions, DRS, they've been behind Vampire for so long.
So important.
And that was a beautiful knock for Ravenclaw to slow down any aggression. The nade over towards Stone is going to keep them low and keep them on the back foot. And Ravenclaw, hang on a minute, they turn that around in just 1 split second. And Delta stays alive for DRS. I thought that was all done for DRS, but no. They get exactly what they're looking for. They will sweep aside Vampire ahead of them and have a shot towards the center, but there's not really too many places for them to go. Buradam tried to make the push up towards the north and actually successfully managed to sneak on through a little bit of a gap there.
Vampire Esports, I think they made the right call, right? I think last time they got bombarded out when the smokes came through, then the nades over the top. So this time around, instead of sitting still, they all stand up, Try and push the players with nades in their hands. It's very important.
Wolves still holding on to their position in the compound. Fireflux moving into the foothills underneath the S2G northern side area. Dangerous position for Fireflux. Those smokes that they're dropping right now, absolutely crucial to suppress any shots or to cut off any sightlines from teams like Nova, from Influence Kemen as well, but that's not going to stop the nades pouring on through. DRS, they're rocking up into the back of Wolves over in Gatka itself as the shots and the pouring in of players comes through. Pickfeet able to handle the first. The DBS around the side though, barks. And the Wolves feel the bite of it, unfortunately. DRS will go no further. They had a good engagement over on that western side, but 3 teams in Gatka, it's always going to be too tough.
Still getting that far is almost a miracle in and of itself. I think for DRS to hold on, it was a real struggle at that point in time, and the fingers were really straining on the edge of the cliff there. Influence came in. Still have some players though. This might be their game. They send in Fireflux, Soulless, 1 down. Fireflux down to just 2 players. And Solkay's looking to push this one far.
Silas from Turkey able to do for 1 onto Solkay there. Nice little knock around the side of the rock, instantly flushed out as well. But there's the answer, a lineup and a knockdown over on towards Influence Kemen. As S2G and Fireflux both suffering the pressure felt by the rest of the lobby from the Brazilian sides. Nades over the top. And Influence Kemen looking very, very healthy here. All 4 of them up and active. S2G not so lucky.
Looking to pull out the broom here. Sweep the guys from S2G. And S2G is immediately retreated to a bit of more of a defensive position where they can turtle up, hopefully restabilize, push back against the guys from Influence Kemen. 4AM do have sightlines towards them. And we will head further towards the center of the circle. I said it was nasty. I said it was cruel. It certainly is. For all these teams over in Gatka, though, leaving is the worst part of this game.
Alter Egos trying to stay alive for as long as possible. Only the 1 player now remains for them. Alpha 7, eastern side. Nades over the top towards Geek Fam. Micah, low. Knocked, flushed, will fall, and Geek Fam are down to 2. Wolves are continuing to move through this compound, but the stairs prove too difficult for them to summit. Pickfeet goes down first, and they need to stick this res. Now towards the top side of things, they have Beautiful and Remember, who are pushing WWX up those stairs continuously. The DBS around the corner, and that is a really heads-up little hop out and a hop in, as well as WWX wants even more from the top rope. The turnbuckle is slamming them down. Finally, they put a stop to the chaos, but the damage is done. Wolves are slowed down. 5 eliminations, sure, but can they keep it going from the position that they hold? There is so much more to handle, and 4AM, they do go down.
I mean, there's a hop out there, and Nova looks like they picked up that final player. Goodness me, you can see just how good 4AM is.
They will not go any further, unfortunately. The top of those tables looking to be a little bit firmer now. Pickfeet, nades over the top. Out into the fields, potentially over towards Geek Fam, but Alpha 7, 4 players alive, looking very healthy. On the southeast side, if they can dispatch Stalwart, they are in a prime position for this next circle. But Stalwart not the easiest to deal with, unfortunately for them. Order picks up 1. King with the Bison as well over onto Pickfeet. King does get shot down towards them as well. Jimmy and Order now the last 2 for Nova, but they are slowing the Wolves down enough to make this exit hard. Really, really tough indeed for the Wolves. Order with the AKM iron sights. Loosen shots from the grass.
There's really one only important fight here between Alpha 7 and Stalwart. The 2 remaining 4-player teams. Whoever wins this fight will most likely win the game. Wolves, though, do finally go down. Geek Fam, 4 eliminations, 2 players left alive. Still going strong. We talked about at the beginning of this game. Definitely not out of the mix yet.
Stalwart still with their challenge at their doorstep. Shots over towards Mythic behind the ridge line from Action, but Not really getting too much more than that. Repositions coming through from Alpha 7. A lot of damage done actually to the health bars here, and there's the off angle, a third party, and an aid over the top from top is going to slam down straight onto Mythic. An answer from Mafioso. The Molotov slows any aggression to move across the way. Mafioso wants to suppress the back as well. He's dealing with threats on two fronts now as Alpha 7 can influence this fight, but Influence Kemen have their own say in things. As Lil Boy makes it tough. Makes it really, really tough indeed for Alpha 7 to stay alive into this one. GYRO needs to hold there, but cannot do the job. One player now alive. It's Revo for Alpha 7. Further on into the circle with a position to hold. Wants to just stay alive and open the gap against Inco as much as possible. But Influence Kemen, they want to join their teammates from Brazil up towards the top.
Revo, complete clutch player as well in this lobby, so wouldn't count him out just yet. Influence Kemen really dominated control from that northern side. Wanted to continue to put down the damage. Order from Nova. Another powerhouse in their own right. Buradam with Sky only. Got a lot of these individual players who are extremely good left remaining in this final circle. What a cool finish here on our angle.
Stalwart. 4 players alive here from Mongolia. IHC kind of stole the limelight from them a little bit, but God like Stalwart are playing pretty well here. Unfortunately, they did just take a knock, and they are kind of cornered somewhat towards the blue zone, and a tough run they'll have ahead of them. Buradam eliminated 7th place. Order still going for Nova. Powerful solo, like you were talking about, a Stalwart mount up for their push towards Revo, the last player for top team Alpha 7. Pika leads forwards. No nades in the back pocket for Revo, only 2 smokes to be spoken of, but will be able to open up for 1, maybe even look for a flush. It'd be brilliant to see more from him. And a knock over towards Action. Stalwart coming apart of the seams here. They all are going to fall down, crumbling under the purview of Revo. A clutch player indeed, Blank. Influence Kemen, though, with the center of this circle.
Yeah, never count out Revo. This is the guy that really took them all the way. But at this point in time, stage 8, it's going to be difficult to stay alive any much longer. Still, 4 teams remaining. Very good possibility now to get a little bit further. 5 eliminations so far for Geek Fam. But only 2 players left. The difficulty for S2G and Revo, there's absolutely no recompense for either of them. They're down, it's done.
You've got to think this is Influence Kemen's game to lose. 6 eliminations on the cards with 4 more to gain. They can potentially get a 25-point game here, Blank, if they get everything left in the lobby. A really solid result that would be. Would see them nice and tidy up the tables. Sort of middle of the pack right now. So they want to keep things as tight as they can. Lil Boy looks for one of Geek and will be able to get the flush as well. Revo with shots over towards one of the remaining player, but that's taken away by Law. So 2 of those eliminations already picked up now by Influence Kemen. Alpha 7 with Revo, S2G with Hamzy, the only 2 people who can stop Influence Kemen taking the chicken.
It's going to be really difficult for Hamzy G and Revo, but both very, very strong players. From S2G and Alpha 7, they have to work together now. It's the only way. Revo's already taken damage with the loot crate. He has a lot more room to play with here. Influence Kemen, they have to stand on either side. Revo's down. Hamzy G's life just become very, very difficult now.
However, he is up in 2nd place for S2G, and with Influence Kemen on 3, 10 eliminations right around the corner. That is that 25-point game that they will be looking for here. A very, very solid result, but Hamzy G, he's got that DP. If he gets a cheeky little angle, gets a pick, there is potential here for things to go pear-shaped for Influence Kemen, but you got to hope that they won't.
I think for Influence Kemen versus Revo there, it is very difficult for them to lose that. But Revo is such a good player, they have to make all the right calls. They subdue Hamzy G on that side, send 2 players out wide so they can refrag off one another, and then send 1 player to finish the job on the edge. So I think no matter what happened to Revo there, this is something that Influence Kemen's always been very, very good at, and that is teamwork and working on the fly to make that kind of teamwork happen. And a quick bird's eye view here to just check exactly what's going on. Again, you got Lil Boy in the back, very covered at the moment. Law, as well as Kariovsky up front, ready to refrag off one another, and Lil Boy's kind of that insurance, just trying to spot by jumping. This is what makes a 3v1 almost impossible to lose. The way they've set this up, yeah, I don't think that we're going to see anything but Influence Kemin chicken dinner, and you can see exactly why this is one of the best teams to come out from South America.
Maybe not on the table right now, but Influence Kemin are a force, and they will be reckoning with everybody else in the lobby on Erangel this time around. Match number 4 goes the way of, again, a Brazilian team. Blank, that's 3 in a row that Brazil have been able to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really changing too much, is it? I mean, Brazil is really crushing the leaderboards today, which is not something we expected, but something that maybe was cooking in the pot backstage throughout the entirety of this year. As we see more and more teams from South America, from Turkey, from all these new types of regions and regions that we've been with for a long time, suddenly finding just the right core, the right team, the right additions, the right players. Again, as James Yang was saying, they had 600,000 plus signups towards PMCO. You can imagine the amount of players that do just get sifted through, get sent through the old blender, honestly. Yeah. And there's just so much new talent and absolutely fantastic players to pick from now. I think anywhere in the world has the chance to have a World Championship team.
Absolutely, and at the moment, a lot of power being seen from Brazil, but we have seen glimmers from a lot of other regions. I think the big surprise for me is that the Chinese teams haven't been as powerful as maybe we would have expected, coming from a region that has for a long time, well, first of all, holds the defending champions.
Give them time. Yeah,
exactly.
Give them time.
Maybe we just have to give them a little bit of time, but with Brazil, as powerful as they are, laying that rail track in front of them as they go, do they have that time to play with? Only time itself will tell.
Do Brazil. It does not stop, and it doesn't seem to stop anytime soon either. Honestly, this is sensational from Brazil, not from any team specifically, but from all the teams. Influence Kemin picking up 24 wins, 24 very important points as well. Did I say wins? 24 points is obviously what I meant. 24 very important points in the context of the overall ranking, which we're going to see later, and also Alpha 7 in 3rd place picking up 15. And there is one team in the midst of this, which is S2G. And looking at the LMs, that is a storyline that we might just want to touch on briefly.
It is. I mean, I was talking about it earlier before this match, and they kind of showcasing it here perfectly. This team has been consistent in regards to their placement, but their eliminations are just too low if they want to be able to contend for that first place at the end of day 3. If they want to go for that championship. And to be fair, I mean, little boy, 3 Illims, 928 damage. You can see Revo as well, lots from Fireflux. Something I do want to point out, and something that we were kind of talking about there during that game, is that now every Brazilian team has a win, Max.
The storyline writes itself, right? You don't even have to say anything at this point. It's just so dominant. You got yourself, Vitality was looking so strong at the start of the day. Now it's just every single one of them got himself a win. It's just absolutely fantastic to see that unfold. And from Influence Kemin in particular, that third party on the northern side was great, but you're looking a lot more orange than you were earlier.
That's what happens when Alpha 7 continues to perform this way. I had to represent for do Brazil. I mean, to be fair, if you would have asked me, do you think Brazil's actually going to be performing this great like they are right now, I would have honestly told you no. I know I tend to be biased because they are from Americas, and I do cover that region, and I've been covering Alpha 7 for now a very long time. I'm just impressed, and I something that I kind of have to agree with what Blank was saying is how much Brazil has improved. And I feel like it has to do with not just one team. It was always Alpha 7. Now it's a bunch of other teams as well. And they're just leveling themselves up and they're showcasing it perfectly here when it matters the most at the PMGC Grand Finals.
I do have to say, the player that I like the most also in this game again from A7, while we're already at the point of the team, is Carrillo. I feel like when you look at the team in the mid of the game, it's always him being proactive, shots left, right. He's kind of like a dog you let off the chain. He's like, he does the work. You just have to let him do the work. And he is. He always holds his ground. He's doing as much possible damage to anyone there is, literally. He's kind of like a tower. It's kind of like a tower defense
dangerous tower, yeah.
Either way, we want to take this moment to quickly thank our sponsors, and obviously the first sponsor we want to thank, it is kind of hard to miss at this point, is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV. Sony Xperia 1 IV and Xperia Stream were co-developed in collaboration with professional esports players. You can play PUBG Mobile with Xperia Streams, total cooling system, and multiple ports for intense gaming and streaming. And also, we want to thank Prime Gaming. Not to forget them. With Prime Gaming, if you haven't heard of them, you can sign up pretty easily. Just head on over to the website. You'll find the links in the socials. And what you can get there is free in-game content for lots of games and also PUBG Mobile. So by chance, if you do play PUBG Mobile, then there is a chance for you to get free items, free content. So head on over and make sure to check that out. And last but not least, we want to keep your eyes peeled on a little thing you might have already noticed in the chat if you've been active there. There's a survey going on right now, a PMGC survey. And you can check that out either in the chat or on the social media channels. You'll find it. So please do let us know your feedback and suggestions about the show. If there's anything that maybe you find positive, anything like negative, make sure to tell us. Yeah. Make sure to tell us. Fill out the survey, and by doing that, that's the best part about it. You may get a chance to win some prizes. So thank you all in advance for sharing your feedback via the PMGC viewer survey. And before I let you guys talk again, there's one more thing. There's one more thing, and something that I'm excited about as well. And that is the next update coming to PUBG Mobile, which is the Warrior Trial. My goodness, that looks so cool. It is starting today.
Yep, it's out.
It is out right now, so make sure to check that and awaken your fighting spirit.
We got new weapons coming in. I can't wait for that in particular. For the next PMPLs and stuff, like it's going to be a big change of meta.
I updated my game before this, and I was like, I shouldn't have because I want to play so bad.
And with that being said, we might head into a quick break where we will potentially open up some PUBG Mobile and check it out ourselves. So make sure to stay tuned. We will be back in just a couple of minutes, so don't go anywhere.
Yanlış yaptığı yer de var. Bicho daros, hindi ko nagya. Never play with fire.
ผมอาจจะเต้นไม่ค่อยแข็งแรงนะครับ แต่ในเกมผมแข็งแกร่งครับ
He watch me.
Fast.
On üzerinden 7. Doğru yaptığı yer de var, yanlış yaptığı yer de var. O yüzden. Şimdi size doğru olanını göstereyim.
Fast.
Bicho daros, hindi ko nagya. Di ni karam hindi ko na. Bicho daros ya.
Good try, a bit awkward, but yeah, I would like to give him 5 for 10. Okay lah, not bad. But I will show you what's the real PUBG dance. You watch me.
Showtime! Fast.
ที่เหลือผมก็เล่นให้มันสนุกครับใครขวางผมฆ่าหมด I never give up to anything
Grand finalde her daim olduğu gibi şampiyonluğu hedefliyoruz. Never give up, we are fireflies, never play with fire.
Бид нэр дэлхийн аврагтаар хамаг чадлаараа бүх юмаа ажиллаж тоглоно. Бид нар тоглолт эхлэхээс өмнө бид бол стафорд гэж нэгнийгээ зоригжуулж, нэгэнд дэм өгч ордог.
I perform very well and I will show them my true color, my true pure skill, and I will try to beat them as far as I want to. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to watch us and support us in the grand final.
İzlediğiniz için teşekkürler. Grand finalde
Финалдаар уулзцгаая.
Welcome back to PMGC. Day number 1 is the 6th of January, and we're about to write some history because Brazil, as the region, there's a potential that we might see all of them either in the top 5 or maybe even the top 3 because they're on their way there. Influence came in with an absolute crazy performance, and we will be taking a look at the overall rankings in just a matter of seconds to see where they actually do stand. How many points? Does anyone remember how many points they actually got in that game?
Too many.
Too many. Too many. That was pretty
A
fast.
lot.
It was above 20 though, easily, right?
Yeah, more than 20.
Actually, let's just take a look. We have the overall ranking ready for you guys at home, so we can see.
Something interesting. I want to see if Inco Gaming ended up dropping off because that was their worst match so far. So let's find out, and they did it. 57 points, but off of 7.
What?
73 points. I might have to go to the Alpha 7 player that let me borrow this and tell him that I'm just not going to return it.
Oh,
I'm
it's just
gonna keep
loaned? You didn't? Oh, I thought you bought it. I was like, man, this guy's merch.
No.
No.
I might get one.
Yeah, you might get one, yeah. But the fact that the 3 Brazilian teams are all in the
Yes.
top 5, like top 4 actually, it's just something absolutely mental when you're looking at it. Of course, though, the fact that S2G, we did criticize them a little bit before the break, the fact that they currently lack eliminations. Still, the simple fact that they're in 3rd position with that lack, unfortunately, of eliminations is impressive. If they can work on that small part of the game, well, it's a pretty big part.
Yeah.
If they can work on that part of the game, chances are they could push themselves up in 1st place.
Especially if they can somehow get a chicken dinner at least in one of the 2 matches that we have left. And then you have God like Stalwart with 27 points. And I kind of want to go down a little bit more because what's interesting for me and something that I want to talk about and we kind of hinted at earlier too is Wolves Esports and Alter Ego. Both of the teams that got an automatic invite here to the grand finals are currently at the end. But I am happy to see that Wolves Esports did have one of their best matches there in the last era go.
100%. While we're at the topic of God like Stalwart especially, I really liked their play in the last game, and that's why I felt like maybe this is a breaking point, because it felt like they really took initiative and took the game into their own hands when they pushed across the ridgeline on towards A7. I'm not sure if you guys remember. And I really liked it. I was sitting here and I was like, damn, that is the correct play in that scenario, even though it didn't work out perfectly. You know, the circle afterwards didn't perfectly work out in their favor. And, you know, obviously, Influence Cameron was just too strong in that game. I feel like maybe just maybe, they're getting into the groove of things now.
Yeah. We do know Stalwart, clearly in the years that we know in this team now, that this is a team that is willing to make changes when they're needed. And I think that it's hard to do like changes on an event like this on like a per game basis. I do think that at the end of today, they're going to go back to the drawing board, be like, okay, what worked for us? What didn't work for us? Unfortunately, a lot did not work for them today. and I do trust in them that they are going to be making changes. In Stalwart, I do trust.
Even when you're doing good, I mean, we saw Alpha 7, they kind of made a mistake. They had a great split in that last Erangel, but they just weren't able to cover up their lines. They ended up getting third party, and then it kind of allowed a guy like Stalwart to just push up. So even if the teams are doing good, they're still going to be able to learn a lot from what we're seeing today.
Yeah, while we have also a little bit of time, I do realize that IHC is a team that we did not talk about too much, in the sense that they got, I think it was that, what, 13 eliminations, only 4 placement points, and we saw they took fights that I think the IHC don't really need that much. So I would like to see them just chill a little bit more, focus on getting good positions before taking fights that don't really bring too much in your favor.
Teams to watch. Let's take a look at who you guys picked. Starting off with the Maxman. Wolves, okay. I'll ask you about that in a second. Influence coming again, and Godlike Stalwart. Starting out with Wolves, because you both picked that team, interestingly enough. We're talking about invited teams not performing well right now, both at the last places. Alter Ego and Wolves. Any reason on why that potentially might change now?
I think it's the play of Remember that we're both thinking about in that compounded Gatka. Like, he just clutched it out. I think it was versus 4 Angry Men, actually, at the time. Like, they took himself, I think it was a 2v3, 2v4 scenario inside the Gatka compound. I was like, okay, they're showing a little bit of confidence. Good to see from them. Hopefully they can elaborate in a chicken dinner. I want to see a Wolves win. That will be cool.
Ooh, I'm actually in. You want to see a Wolves win? I actually want to see a Fireflux, not a win, but at least a top 5, because this team ended up with 7 eliminations. It's a team that you were picking to be within the top 5, and right now they're currently just not performing.
I can very much
do me that.
I can very much
Listen,
imagine
I didn't bring up
Fireflux
other
with
curse, so you know what, Max? I'm actually letting you scot-free.
Thank you.
We are going into match number 5, ladies and gentlemen, and who other to do it with than John Allen and Blank? Take it away, boys.
T2K.
I was trying to get him to give me a fist bump before we went on the camera, and he was just like looking at me, being like, "I don't know what you want from me." And I'm like,
I don't know what that is.
"What? I don't know."
That seems to be a fist. I don't know what to do with it right now. Yeah. Anyway,
that was so rude.
I am sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. About you?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We're going into match number 5. The first day is drawing to a close.
I started to go 2 more matches, but then you went 5, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
That's a different number of fingers. I can't handle it. Can't handle it, Blank.
It's alright, I just did a peace sign.
The numbers, Blank, what do they mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Wish it did.
I can tell you what they do mean, though, is Brazil has done really bloody well today.
Yeah.
They are almost in a 1-2-3 with S2G playing a little bit of spoiler.
That's right. Do you know who is mean?
I don't.
Also Brazil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, taking all the points.
Oh.
Very rude.
Yes, very, very rude.
Do you know who is thirsty?
Who's thirsty?
Maxman.
Oh, Maxman's thirsty.
He's currently over there just guzzling water down. Fair enough. I respect that. I thought about hydration too, and I had my coffee by my foot.
Excellent.
That was basically what my brain did. I was like, hydration, don't knock over the coffee, look down, my foot is like an inch off knocking over the coffee.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You're keeping your wits about it. That's exactly what our teams are going to need to do here if they want to take on the Brazilian Blasters.
Brazilian Blasters.
That's what they are.
That's right.
Absolutely popping up. That's why the crowd's here.
Absolutely. I mean, my brain is just linking things together right now, and the guys that aren't from the Brazilian squads need to start linking stuff together and forming themselves into an actual chain at this point in time, because they need to be strong, they need to be sturdy, and all those links need to not be coming apart during the games. Again, great crowd, honestly. It's been a really fantastic time.
There's a wave for you.
Hello, it's us.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm doing a double-handed wave right now. I don't think that's very cool, but yeah, they're top left. You could be down bottom right.
That's
yeah,
right.
That could be you.
You could have been if you were here in Jakarta, but unfortunately, if you're watching online, it's likely that you're not. But we'd love to have you.
We would. I did a double wave. I think
you could probably, no matter where you are in the world, you could still make it technically.
Do a
for
double
the final
wave.
Day.
You could, yeah. I mean, we made it. 3 days ago?
Well, yeah, but it took us a total of, I think, about 20 hours of travel each.
Don't remind
from
me.
the UK. Yeah, it was a long time. It was longer for others, to be fair.
It was.
We had a bit of a mid-range travel time, but hopefully the plane path isn't going to be quite so brutal to our team.
Imagine the plane path,
18-hour plane path. No, thank you. I'll settle for a couple of minutes. We go into Miramar for match number 5.
You count the plane blast, and you're just fighting against the other team that's left in the lobby. That would be pretty good.
You land in match 20.
Yeah, exactly. That would be pretty cool. Like several matches, and it just happens over a long, long while. And add more and more players to the mix.
Don't be ridiculous, Blank.
Yeah, I think that needs additional work. That idea sounds pretty good.
No, you know what? I don't think it needs any work at all, and we can just leave it where it is. Right on the fridge. We'll put it on the fridge, and that's great.
I think we're going to park it. I'm going to park it. I'm going to come back to it later and, do some mechanicking on it.
Okay.
Mechanic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
I'll work on that. Obviously, Miramar, last to penultimate game right now. Miramar, and then obviously heading over towards our angle to finish things off. So this will be our last Miramar of the day. The warmth is there. So brilliant news. Brilliant news for us. Brilliant news for a lot of these players in terms of not only the warmth, but also the massive amount of areas. This is going to give you a bit more of a chilled out game going forward. And I think with this playing path again, we have had some very kind circles and kind playing paths today. I think it's been very fair, so I don't think anyone can kind of complain that some of these Brazilian teams, the Brazilian Blasters as you call them, are at the top. I think they've actually earned their place, earned their footing, and earned their position on the leaderboard so far. So I think some of these other teams maybe need to step up the game, step up that performance, because there are some teams in here that I think, they really should be further up the lobby. I'm looking at Budoram, looking at Stalwart, I'm looking at Nova, in fact. I'm thinking Vampire Esports. I mean, to be fair to Vampire Esports, they're a team that fluctuates massively, so this could just be one of those things where, they've not able to bring out that similar performance. But again, towards the end of group stages, they blasted out of nowhere. But again, there's only 3 days this time around, and if they can't make it in 3 days, I'm making the you're done zone.
Making the cut. Well, no matter what, at the end of 3 days, everybody's done this season, right? This is the finals. This is the grand finals of the PMGC for 2022. Everything else here on off is going to have 2023 in it, blank. I know we're already in the year, but we've got to finish out last year first. It's only polite.
It is, yeah. We're right now we're just putting the final bow on 2022 and seeing who goes home with a beautiful trophy.
The team that qualified to the finals with the highest points total from the group stage, Budoram.
300 points was big.
Only 19% of people got that right.
Yeah.
People don't expect it.
I think Geek Fan were behind them by a little bit.
293? 292?
292.
Something like that.
I remember that statistic.
Excellent.
Yes, don't worry.
That's 8 points behind. It's pretty close though. So
pretty close.
That was over in Group Yellow, I believe, in the third group to play.
I do think Group Yellow was an easier lobby though. I think Red and Green were, I wouldn't say equally difficult. I'd say Green was a little bit more difficult, but I don't think it was the Group of Death as people kind of made it out to be. I think in hindsight now, looking back at it, I would say Group Red was just a little bit less difficult than Group Green. A lot of those teams from Group Red have turned out to be absolute powerhouses in their own right. Obviously now looking over towards El Pozzo, teams would like to make their way up over here. Obviously we had that playing path that cut through the center up towards Tierra Bronca, circle over towards El Pozzo. Credit Fields, La Cobraderia, all important positions, but realistically right now people just aren't taking up these positions early on. La Triera could be a spot you want to take, but with it being so south down towards this side of the circle, maybe not really on your radar just yet.
These positions out in the northwest, they are strong, but as you said, people aren't taking them early. With the plane path as it was, it cut a little bit to the east side and the south edge of it. So they are just big chilling over on that southeast side of the map in general. Going to have to head northeast in just that little bit. S2G making that break first towards the northwest side, leaving Silas up towards Crater Fields. This is a position that typically we would have seen HVVP play coming in from the previous group stages, and to be honest, that is the team that I think people are most surprised is not here. Given their performance, given the way they played, and in general their strength across each of the regions and each of the sections of the progression to try and get here that they had, it seemed like they were a shoo-in, but they were just about pipped to the post.
I think, we had a case of there's only so many teams that can make it through, and we had a lot of teams coming through to PMGC, and they were just beat to the post, honestly. I think they were some of the greatest Western European teams of all time, HVP and Mad Bulls. It's just sad not to see them here at the PMGC Grand Finals. Sad because obviously we're Western European casters, but I do think that they would have fit in here. But again, both those teams made big mistakes. I think that you look at Mad Bulls, they fell off hard over on that first week, and I think they spent far too much time kind of posturing and looking for those easy points. I think they had to come out blazing. HVB, on the other hand, get towards that last chance off the back of some very aggressive plays. And then they get to that last chance, and instead of being aggressive, they go all passive. And I think it's that pressure that really gets to both those teams. And I think a lot of the teams we're seeing here made it through to the PMGC Grand Finals are these teams who are just happy to be like, look, we have to full send it. If we don't full send it now, we'll never make it in. We have to make these dangerous plays. That's exactly what Inco did. They're here right now. They're in second place. They're doing wonderfully well for themselves. And if it wasn't for them, you know, being they were so far behind, right? They were so far behind in that final game. They didn't think to themselves, look, we're going to go middle. We're going to take it. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to send it into Nitro towards that end. And we're going to take it to the limit and then beat out Alpha 7. If they don't do that, they don't make that decision, they don't make it into the Grand Finals. And these are the moments that make a PMGC team.
And now they're in second place on the overall standings after 4 matches. With the 5th on the cards, they stand a clean 14 points ahead of 3rd place right now. So they have got that buffer moving on in, but even further ahead are Alpha 7, who have been terrifying so far today. Over 4 matches to pick up 73 points. That's almost a 20-point average, Blank. That is really, really tight. It's playing at, what is that? I think that's an 18-point average on each of the games so far, which is really, really quite incredible. To get 18 points on one game is a great performance. To do it over 4, absolutely
disgusting,
unbeatable on a day. And you talked about it before, not unlikely we could see Alpha 7 on a 100-point day to kick things off.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 27 points now. It's very doable.
True.
I mean, they won 27 points after, I think it was 2 games. So there's definitely a chance here for them. I think also, similarly with their current rotation, up over towards that northern side of the map, Mafioso, Revo, Carrillo, Mythic, all heading down towards Cabrera. I like this 2-2 split as well. You've got 2 players over in the blue watching out for any other teams, any other players that will be moving down over this side of the map, and then 2 players who are already forward, already in towards the circle. That's good play. That's good play in general, a smart play. But what it also does is gets you over towards Credit Fields. The fact that no one's taken up this ridge side this early on is a catastrophe, in my opinion. And I think it should have been taken up so much earlier. And this might just be free real estate, essentially, for Alpha 7.
Danger for Influence Kemin as Geek Fam open up the barrels, but fortunately, no knocks just yet, but I might have spoken too soon there as Federal gets torn off the back of the bike. Kayovsky will sail on forwards, but managed to curve around that headland, up into more danger. Just nearly over the top, but Geek Fam 2.2. Terrible news for Influence Kemin. They had a blaster of a game last time around. They were in 4th, looking good to set themselves up for a Brazilian 1-2-3, but losing 2 this early, it is far from ideal.
Yeah, Micah is just an absolute beast. Really, really good addition here towards Geek Fam. Certainly what put them on the path towards this PMGC after struggling a little bit towards the PMPL. Suddenly back in action now. Influence Kevin want to look for one little more, and he sends shots back, in fact. This is so aggressive from Micah.
From the Malaysian region as well, Geek Fam, we saw the announcement earlier today. They're going to be set in their own region as well, moving on forward. So that is going to be really cool to see them going on into the PMPL Malaysia for next time around. But for now, they're in 6th place.
They are indeed in 6th place right now. So 36 points. That's 2 eliminations off the back of that really nice spray down. Does not happen often. Unfortunately, it is those bikes that kind of have a little bit of a squiffy hitbox. Makes it just a little bit easier, but not as easy as Micah makes it look, honestly. You try to do that in game and I tell you probably fail 9.9 times out of 10. It is quite the difficult proposition to actually field during, especially esport competition, one of this high value.
Goodness me, S2G, I mean, they were 14 points behind Inco, but they've already taken 2 of the Inco players down. Squash under pressure, and then they Bete trying to get away from it as well. And 3 eliminations found for pretty much Silas in that scenario. Excellent knocks coming on through for the S2G squad. 4 angry men close by in the foothills here. Nene Bete managing to stay alive for Inco. I say that as he does go down. 16th place. S2G with a chance now to leapfrog if they can keep it going. Geek Fam do lose 1 to Stalwart. 3 players now staying alive for Geek Fam. This is on the northeastern side. Buriram going to skirt around this engagement to the south edge of it. They're probably going to be coming into conflict with Nova and maybe even T2K in the next couple of minutes.
Nova looking to put us on some points this game. 23 so far. It's not ideal. Again, that 40-point margin seems to be where you really want to be at the end of the day. Alpha 7, though, really on track right now to send themselves blistering towards a really strong position within this tournament. Remember, 2 days to go, though. Anything can happen over those 2 days, but I think realistically, by the time we get to match 6, some of these teams would like to see themselves towards, 60 points. I think that's where we're going to see the majority of these top 5 teams.
Oh, King 1-for-1 as Jimmy trades him off. But they can't really stretch out towards this position. Sky only does get flushed out by Paraboy. And there's plenty of off angles to play with, but against them is Kingzo. My Name P also laying order down. King is low and out. 2 players now active against the 3 from Buraram. Paraboy and Jimmy looking to reposition for this, but Kingzo doesn't want to let them slow down. Tiger as well, moving up on high, up on that ridge line. Jimmy repositions towards order and might even go straight into the headland that Tiger currently occupies. Jimmy swinging out wide, spots the buggy, knows he has to fade away, needs to win the trade as well if Nova want to stay alive in this game. One of the last 2 players standing for the squad from China, and Jimmy looks for the challenge, will find the shots. And Tiger goes down. Buraram lose their outpost.
Buraram United really looking to put some more points on the board here, but losing 1 player, another knock comes through, tries to try and trade some of these off over towards Nova. Finds at least 1 here, and Kengzo is going to have to bring out something big. Said he'd destroy anyone in his way, but forgets that can't be the solo player on his team. There needs to be people rallying around him to make this happen. That's how they did so well over in the league stage.
A potential urban finish here as El Pozo gets shrunk down towards further south on the southeast side. Pretty hard shift on this circle. Paraboy, Order playing as a duo now. Moving together, moving it in close. They do have a player at the back. Jimmy still active, of course, after winning that trade. My Name P at the back. Kengzo's position should be spotted there. Steps out for the challenge, but Order on the ball as ever. My Name P also under pressure now, backed off that ridge line. Buraram down to 1.
Just sent back. The swiftest of plays there coming through from Nova. Sure, down to 1 player, but that is a display of dominance. You know that Nova's not messing around. Again, though, they need to get, I'd say, around about another at least 27 points on this day to begin with a running. That would see them very well set up for tomorrow to try and leapfrog and get that first place. It won't be easy by any stretch of the word, but I think 27 points is doable off a bad day.
.73 points on the cards for Alpha 7. We talked about their performance so far, and it has been astounding. They're on the north side, and if it goes more close or more into El Pozo than it currently is already, they might have a tough time getting into that settlement. However, on that north side, the Wolves have not been powerful at all so far in this lobby. Currently sat in 15th place, 7 points total. Only trumped on the poor performances, to be honest, by Alter Ego.
Stalwart off towards that eastern side definitely could also be a problem, but I think they're going to be laid up by Nova quicker than we see Alpha 7 put themselves in the purview, those lads over there. Shots coming through on that side. Alpha 7 can skirt around the crater fields, but we will see this next circle very soon now.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh. A little crash coming on through. Influence Kevin. Get the cage rattled by the team that the crowd is cheering for the loudest. Alter Ego able to find the final 2 from Influence Kevin.
I mean, pure decimation coming through from Alter Egos, and I bet that certainly was an Alter Ego there, because that looked fearsome. Brought something out different, put on the angry face. That's absolutely fine. Geek Fam, northwest side, still kind of sandwiched between Alter Egos and Alpha 7, but Alpha 7 now taking their opportunity to move through crater fields, undetected by S2G or any other players down towards that south side. See if Alter Egos are able to take any shots towards these rotates. Come through now. You are right, this is looking more and more like an urban finish now, with players and teams all cooped up in El Pozo. It's not a fun place to finish as well. Not a lot of these buildings are even all that good. Really a pick of... I don't really know what I'd pick, honestly.
Yeah, it's very, very tricky, especially in urban environments, to choose a winner. It's almost kind of worth choosing a team not in the middle there, because you don't know which of those is going to win, and you're more likely to win with a team that is just going to sweep the outside, in which case Alpha 7, I guess, would be my pick.
Could do. I think also Fireflux have a strong spot. Alter Egos, though, what a quick swing by.
Very nice.
Straight in towards the city, ahead of GeekFam as well, who took a little bit of too long, in my opinion, to get into position.
But get into position they shall do now. They shall try and enact that labour. Maybe a little bit too late. Alpha 7. Okay, hang on a minute. I take back my prediction. I didn't mean it, Blank. I didn't mean it at all. S2G, the new players on the cards for me. A nice little flush, actually, pinging that one away for Stalwart. Picking up a cheeky little point. So only 2 players now left for Alpha 7 as they try and move to the hills outside of those craters, but it's really, really tough going for them. Carrillo certainly going to bleed out here. Revo up to the cliff face. Mafioso soon to join. Razy gets put back a bit, humbled slightly, but Carrillo will finally get flushed. Mafioso behind the vehicle, and Hamzy can't quite thread the needle.
There's always going to be a horrible push for Alpha 7, honestly, just because as soon as we got this circle coming down here, S2G had to do one thing, and that was hold down towards the western side of the ridge. Stalwart similarly knew exactly what to do as well, which is on the eastern side of the ridge. Where does Alpha 7 go at that point? They have to go through the fielded area, in which case both S2G and Stalwart get the clear crossfire. And there's no like mix-up in between S2G and Stalwart because they don't have sightlines on each other. They only have sightlines over towards Alpha 7. So really, really nice stuff. But that will stop Alpha 7 profiting for a little while as they now finally go down. This gives a chance for maybe some of these other teams to start getting a little bit more points, getting into position. S2G in particular, 4AM, GeekFam.
All trying to hold positions in this settlement. Next circle just about to come through in about 7 seconds. All of these teams are going to be so ready. Pre-planning in the IGL's minds going on right now furiously. And it keeps quite a lot of the outside of the El Pozo area in this next circle, Blank. It's about 50-50.
This is going to be a slow game. This is going to be a slow roast. We'll set the old oven going. And we'll just pop that thing on 180 degrees and just leave it because this is going to slowly boil up to where we want to see it. And then maybe explode over because at this point in time, most teams are just going to sit pretty. Maybe try and find themselves a bit of a better position. Nice shots over towards 4AM from IHC. Limit the amount of players that still get in. Very unfortunate as well with that just being demo. A great spot taken up from IHC. Issue is, he's really only found one. This nade has to be pretty effective so that he can regroup with the rest of his team.
He's already started to cook. Ching Chen, just about escapes that one narrowly. A smoke being thrown underarm there to try and cover a little bit more progression. The nade blasts right in the air over the top of it. IHC really wanting to hold out 4 Angry Men here. 4 Angry Men, 5th place right now, could challenge S2G. Looking good to overtake Influence Kemin. And how's this for a turn of events, Blank? All 3 Brazilian teams out.
I mean, this is where the train derails. And you were saying that can they lay the track in front of them fast enough? And it seems that the energy's run out. The blisters on the fingers are just a little bit too much. And again, that profit no longer there. Have to take a rest on the side, on the desert, on the sand. Sit and watch as the coals cool off and they can go again. S2G, though, looking to put in a good game right now. 3rd place. Really the only team still up and running in that top 5. 4AM's got a real struggle bus of an opportunity ahead of them. They still have to get Xing Chen into position as well as MWWX. 33 Svan, the only one actually inside the circle.
Everybody's still inside El Pozo, though, are just trying to chill right now. WWX slowly moving forwards. Right, IHC. Forcing them to struggle on just a little bit at their doorstep. Not only that, you got alter egos as well, trying to slow everything down on this western side. Alter egos on this north side of El Pozo in general going to have one of the better times getting out of the settlement should the circle shift out that way, Blank.
Yeah, still have a chance here as well. A very good chance, in fact, because they have the most of the high ground buildings to play around with. Their major idea at the moment is to do exactly this. Slowly pick away at these teams on the western side. IHC probably the biggest problem here. Vampire Esports ahead of them. This is a really good chance now for Alter Egos.
Order down, flushed. 4 angry men getting chipped away at. Svan, last player standing now for the squad. Alter Egos will spot it. The circle goes half and half yet again. So everybody will have to crunch just that little bit closer. That's bad news for AHC, bad news for Svan from 4 angry men. Geek Fam probably going to have a tough time of it, but this northern edge, I think, is going to be the cruelest for the two teams taking occupation up by this mountain, this high ground position from S2G and Stalwart, both of whom are going to have to move south.
You would be surprised. There's still a lot of cover to play on that northern edge on El Pozo. I think the issue comes in two teams sharing that area, so I think now they're going to have to figure out how do they take down one another without alerting themselves and their presence to a lot of the players underneath. So you can see Stalwart just quickly stepping up, stepping back down again. For S2G, sending Silas across. Oh, this is really important.
Alter Egos thinking about moving now. IHC had that thought a little bit earlier, but unfortunately seems to be fairly poorly timed as Vampire are absolutely on the lookout. Just completely covering off all of these lines of ingress for IHC. There's no way you get across this one. Demo will pick Ziol back up and Godless next on the medic list, but how much further can they get? They're still outside the zone.
Vampire Esports just on a perfect line on that edge of the match. I'm actually very pleased with that. That is giving me the ASMR, but visual. Obviously now we'll have to hold out a couple of the teams, but done the work over towards IHC, Alter Ego. We'll have to move in, but imagine that the Wolves will have so much to say about that. It's pretty much open ground between them and their place of retreat. But again, 4 players, that's kind of what you need to push through a team like Vampire Esports. You may lose 1 or 2 in the process, but I think at that point in time, you just have to see that as acceptable losses.
S2G on the north side, clashing a little bit with Stalwart, but S2G keep all of their players alive and Stalwart down to 3. Still, they managed to squeak out the edge of that circle on the northern side in the white circle. IHC have to disengage from the Vampire position. They did keep 3 of themselves alive, which is quite a good turn-up, given that they were 3 of them down at one point. They only lost the 1 player completely, Calci. Behind the tree, oh, nearly knocks the block off Ketch, but he ducks down just in time to save his bacon. Maybe another shot to be found, though. Has to fade back and not going to really chance it for now. Alter Egos playing as 4. They're going to try and push through Vampire now.
Yeah, you can see them getting ready to burst over towards Vampire Esports. See what they can get done here. It's just one of those cases of making sure you watch all angles, make sure all positions are free before you cross that road, before you cross into no man's land and into the night owned by Vampire.
That's a Fireflux shift if I ever did see one. Slap bang onto them, they're in the middle of it now. IHC get across. Godless trying to pop on through the vehicles, but Demo goes down first and Ziol second to follow. Godless last and wasn't there to back up the teammates. T2K holding well, but unfortunately they do lose 1. Godless, a sliver of HP will not be enough to prop up the crumbling foundations of that rotation, and T2K will sweep it away.
Again now for 4 AM. Alter Ego, Vampire is got their fangs out looking their way. Wait for them to leave. It's all popping off on this northern edge, John.
Up in flames, S2G go as the vehicle does pop off, and they're going to bring themselves very, very low. Stalwart picking up those points, and Hamzy last to fall. Stalwart curtail them, draw them short. 11th place, 5 eliminations. The top of the tables are crumbling fast. 4 Angry Men may be next on the cards, and they will fall too. DRS now. They led out today with a really well-executed chicken dinner, and now they have a chance to see themselves back towards the top of the table. Schweppes is absolutely dominating Alter Egos in the meantime. And this push seems doomed, and it will fall finally with the last player to go. The western side, Vampire property.
Sad funeral dirge behind us there, banged out on the drums for Alter Ego. Here in Indo. Now Vampire Esports looking to move forward. Geek Fam above them. Still a couple of players, 2 to be precise. Vampire with 3. Some points on this day.
Only one team now left on the outside of the settlement of El Pozo. And that is Nova with the duo that they have, Order and Paraboy. These are 2 names that strike fear into the hearts of people who come across them on the battlefields. To be honest, we've expected a little bit more from them today, but we know that they can deliver when pushed. And now is the time that they need to show just what they're made of here. Another shift over towards the Fireflux position, and it seems like this might be a Turkish game to lose.
Absolutely. Fireflux, team that I mentioned earlier, in a really strong spot. Both on the outer edge and still in the city. It's a really easy spot to hold on to for a long, long time. A lot of accessible areas to excavate yourself from. So I think this is a very, very good spot to be playing in. T2K just about make their way into that building.
Looks like Vampire wanted to slow them down. Well, that's a beautiful nade over the top from Stoned. I have no idea how he managed to find that perfectly onto the garage opening from that angle, but 3 points. Excellent stuff.
Stone just a very, very good player, and that gives great opportunity now for Vampire actually to move up, which is really important for them actually. Just garnering a bit of space. Geek Fam also looking to take advantage of that. Look at that, those Schweppes already down.
Oh no.
2 in fact, and only Stone left remaining. Vampire falling.
Crumbling. Being pulled apart at the seams there. Only the one left, DRS, wanting to push on through on the southeast side as well. Wolves looking to hold out, well, pretty much anyone they can right now, but it's not going super strongly. Only Memory is down for them at this stage, however. With Vampire falling, Geek Fam look to challenge, but Yuhai caught out there. If I remember, 5 eliminations for Fireflux as they hold the center, and the hold is strong from the Wolves.
Important game for them. Gaznades really, really wanted them to hit a good game. T2K also were looking for something strong here. DRS still going last zone now.
And it will close with 5 teams remaining. This is what happens in urban finishes. Blank, there's so much cover, so tightly packed, that these occurrences do happen. And the utility gets burned a little bit earlier into these, which means that the nades aren't super plentiful. Makes these pushes all the harder. Zone is shunting in now. Fireflux with the opening bid. Solke finds a second onto the Wolves. DRS looking to move in closer. Nova is still in on the north side, and Paraboy has a little bit to say about it. Fireflux are just pulling all of the points out of this lobby now as DRS fall in 5th. 3 eliminations found, 10 on the cards for Fireflux. They are unstoppable so far. Paraboy and Order continue to move forwards. There's smokes and cover in the way. But Fireflux are looking out. They are aware of this push. T2K in the meantime want to stop the Wolves, want to slow them down, but they cannot do anything here. Wolves up into the top 3.
Wolves versus Fireflux here. Will they jump into the campfire, into the light of the flames?
Oh.
Take down the Travelers from Fireflux have come so far. They are protected, ready and waiting for Wolves this night.
Paraboy down.
क्या कह रहा है वो क्लैन में उसको बोल रूम खेलेगा क्लैन वालों से क्या कह रहा है वो क्लैन वाले से रूम खेलेगा पूछ दिखाइए कौन है ये मुझे भी तो दिखा हाँ हम बना लेंगे कोई दिक्कत नहीं अरे इस पे पड़ा है साइरस पे पड़ा है साइरस पे दिखा तो सही है कौन मैं भी तो देखूं साइरस आराम से हरा देगा ले खेल ले बच्चा हरा देगा
Down, flushed, order last standing for Nova now. Wolves still out in the cold here. Solke does take a knock there. A nade over. Slows it down though again for the Wolves. One player standing for Wolves looking for the res. Order doesn't want to go down here. 3 nades to play with, launches one over the top. If he can just eliminate the Wolves, that's an excellent little boost to the placement point. Solus out and into the outside now behind the burnt out van, but Solus looks for the challenge. Order not quite able to stay alive because the Wolves have the off angle. They've res with 2, catches down and Solke's low. If they can get a pick onto Lutz, it's huge for them. Oh, a lovely little headshot through the window. Takes a lot of health off the Lutz health bar, and now they need to try and keep it all together. Remember is up close, but he is solo now. 1 versus 3 against Fireflux. And out into the blue, they have to fall. Ketch has to vault out, and he might just go down to it. They try to strafe out wide, and Fireflux just about pull it back together. What a way to close it down, but either way, it is a Fireflux position, it is a Fireflux circle, and it is a Fireflux chicken dinner.
With Seven's blessing, they take it this far. Who's looking for a bit of a win. Get them towards that top side. Good amount of eliminations. Can tell from the faces though that this win came a little late for their liking. Still it was strong. Yes, they were gifted some strong position in the circle, but getting that done from there, not easy. You really have to be very aware of what's going around in the circle to ensure you can pick up all those eliminations, pick up those positions, and know exactly what to do next.
2 Turkish teams performing well today. S2G and Fireflux now picking up that chicken dinner in match number 5. Brazilians as well with their own syndicate. Seems like we might have a little bit of a rivalry between these 2 regions.
100%. A couple more teams starting to come out of the woodwork now as well. Nova obviously getting up towards that 3rd place position. 4AM also making it far. We seem to see both those Chinese teams towards the top quite frequently. Plus Wolves, good match from them. Fortunately not able to finish it out, and when you look at them you just feel like they didn't have that extra oomph that was required. VPE also keeps banging on the doors of the leaderboard. Fortunately, when you look at them though, they are just not picking up the amount of points that we want to see from Vampire Esports.
No, not quite, unfortunately. It is not the caliber of team that we saw at PMWI.
Yeah.
This is what we were worried about coming in.
Just when you think you've figured out a storyline in terms of what is happening on day 1, it all changes. It all changes from top to bottom. Look at the teams. And it is Brazil all the way down. 14, 15, 16. Alpha 7, Influence, and Inco. What has just happened?
I think we cracked the code with 7. They took a break. They got too many wins. They're like, yeah, we'll give a chance to the other team to get some wins eventually. You know what? That's fair. And 5flux, I mean, no, talking about S2G looking good, and also right now 5flux finally gave himself a chicken dinner. I said it, from Turkey, it did pretty good. And there you go, they get the win.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That wasn't my teams to watch. Slow down there, by the way. For 5flux, I picked him because I know you didn't want to pick him in curse him. So
thank you.
I guess
I appreciate it.
Reverse curse somehow in some weird way.
I don't know how it works, man. I don't know. I'm winging it.
But to be fair, it's good to see that now another Turkish team is stepping up. We've been talking about S2G. I mean, we can see here Kedge being able to put up 5 eliminations, 709 damage.
Yeah, and you can especially see like these urban finishes are rough to play, but El Porto compared to a Los Leones finish, it's so hard to cross from building to building, and you can see all the teams south and west struggled so heavily to make those crosses happen. And then you have 5flux to have that little warehouse, well, a big warehouse position, go right to the final phase. It centers up on them. You know, all the teams are going to come their way one by one, and they pick up so many elims, but it's not quite enough to push away Alpha 7 and Inco from first and second place here.
And I'm actually surprised that we're still seeing Inco Gaming there in second place, because they have had 2 games now that are not up to the performance of what we were seeing at the start of the day. But for them, 57 points, definitely keeping them there within that second place. S2G, 49 points. I am now starting to see a little bit more of a fragging power out of them. That was my main concern. But in return, their average placement points are starting to slow down a little bit. They haven't really been able to average what we saw earlier on as well. DRS Gaming, we really haven't seen the flashes that we saw early on. And then when we go to the second page, Nova, 36 points. Godlike Stalwart, 34 points. And now a big jump up, Maxman, Wolf Esports in 12th place.
And we kept talking about that pop-off that we needed. It's not the massive big pop-off, right? But it is still, remember especially, like, he was out in the open. He was getting shot at by some players of 5flux. Like, he had no cover, and he was, like, almost winning those trades. So, like, remember really standing out to me as, like, the star player of Wolves. And if they can keep it up, maybe a chicken dinner. I mean, you only got one more game for the day, but I would like to see one eventually in these finals.
And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Match 6 is going to be a wrangle once again. And coming back to the team that is almost on the brink, and you said it before, Seven, you really wanted to see Nova on that first page in overall rankings, and they are sitting so close to it. And that's something I personally was really rooting for in that last game, especially because Nova played that so smartly. That was such a smart game. They took their losses early, but they still managed to capitalize on towards the position they had, and they were so sneaky in the way they positioned themselves around 5flux. Sure, they didn't win the game, but that was such an important game in terms of collecting points towards that first page.
And it was good to see that the duel was towards the end. I know you looked at me, Max, and you
you
said Paraboy and Order are alive, and then Paraboy literally got eliminated right away. But it's good to see a little bit more flashes of them, right? We really haven't seen much of them. The only stuff that we talked about is how they're being eliminated, how they're currently in second page. But now we're starting to see the turn of a page here. And I feel like if they can close out today with the win, it would send a statement to Alpha 7, because Alpha 7 does have a 17-point lead. You don't want to have Alpha 7 finish off the day with a win. That's just going to be demoralizing for a lot of the teams out there.
They're looking so confident it could happen. But I was looking at Instagram during that game also at some point. It seemed like the sentiment we've seen from a lot of people, and I do fully agree with it. Nova doesn't feel like Nova we've seen so far, at least on the first few games today. They're playing outside of the circle. They're just taking things a little bit slow. But as we like to know for them, they're going to change things up eventually, and they're going to try and be streaky once again.
I'm laughing because in a way, we could have called this. Right, we said Nova might not just end up performing day one, and then tomorrow we're going to see everybody's going to be in Instagram or anywhere you go. They're going to be like, oh yeah, Nova still got it.
We were sleeping yesterday, don't worry.
That is a very much real possibility. Let's take a look at the teams to watch. Who did you guys pick? Starting off with Maxman, DRS, 5flux, and Geek. 5flux again. Is there a possibility for another Turkish chicken dinner today?
Yes. I would like to see another one eventually, right? I mean, it's just 5flux as the team that I've been looking at. And I did my pick before they actually got the chicken dinner. I was like, I like their transitions from position to position. They got the chicken dinner on top, so that cherry on top at the end of the day. So yeah, I think 5flux have been looking good. But especially as you mentioned, I want to see the other Turkish team do well in S2G. It's all eliminations, all placement points. How about both?
Please.
That'll be good.
And that's why I pick S2G, because now I'm starting to see the eliminations, but I want them to narrow down just a good marriage between the both if they want to continue to be towards the top 3, if they want to continue to be towards that top table. I also picked Nova because of what we were just talking about. If they can actually get a win here, they will be able to send a statement to Alpha 7. And I pick Alpha 7 to kind of just counter that point, because if Alpha 7 can get a win to finish off the day, it's going to be massive, and it's going to put them in a big, big lead point.
Depending on how these teams perform, actually, there's a possibility of one of the Brazil teams actually dropping out of the top 8. I've probably seen all of them being in top 3, stacked right on top of each other. That'll be a crazy scenario as well. But yeah, Nova, pretty interesting pick. I do have to say, it felt like something is coming up. It's kind of like that feeling. The feeling, you know, when the tingle, the Spider-Man senses to some degree. I feel like it's changing now.
Paraboy.
I feel like if I had to pick, I would pick Nova as well.
Tingle,
yes,
yeah.
I know I'm a Paraboy fan, but let me be a Paraboy fan. I do feel that way.
I'm with you, and I feel like that way. We're starting to see Paraboy a lot more during the matches. We're actually starting to see him being able to get some knocks, if not being able to steal some illims from the other teams.
Yeah. Even that, I would say that we saw some improvements throughout the day, because we saw in that very first game, they lost, I think it was Order to the side of Alter Ego very, very early on in that game, right? And now, we don't tend to see them lose like a player like randomly in the early game. Like, it's a slow like sense of improvement we are seeing, but once they go back to the drawing board today, I think that tomorrow, day 3, that's when we can expect some big step-ups from Nova. I mean, they're not the back-to-back world champions for nothing, right? They are a team that is willing to make these adaptations, so don't count them out. It's just day 1.
And another team that I do want to mention on as we are going into the last game, it's going to be Inco Gaming. I want to see a little bit more of what we were seeing early on in the day. They were showing great flashes. It was mostly because of Vitali. I mean, a player that was able to get back-to-back games with 6 eliminations was great for them. We really haven't been able to see Vitali in the past 2 matches, and we really haven't been able to see Nenebete. Yeah, we got a chance to see him here and there with the shotgun, but that's about it. I feel like we need to start seeing those players a lot more.
It would be very scary if for those teams it was like somewhat of a flash in a pan. Like, it's a good start of the day. The thing is, this will not carry you for these 3 days.
Yes.
If you do not follow with at least consistency, it doesn't matter if you don't get chicken dinners, but if you're not consistent and getting points in every single few matches, you might just fall out of that relevancy point.
Talking about consistency, as a team, I was very surprised to see that is still in top 5 is Full Angry Man. They were still in top 5. They still had, I think, around 43 points, and they were very consistent in terms of placement and elimination points. That was very even scoreboard, and I was surprised because they don't immediately, right? They don't stick out immediately when watching the games. But they're the ones, they're always in the background, they're always working, they're very consistent in their rotations as well. They barely lose anyone early game. They have a very progressive and very methodical approach in the mid game as well in terms of getting to that positions, and I feel like them rotating as a 4-stack and very rarely taking chances in the early game is allowing them to do that. I'll be interested to see how they perform if they actually get a good circle, maybe capitalize on that, maybe get some gifted placement points as well. Maybe there's going to be a breaking point that is reached eventually.
Yeah, if they get themselves a good position, I also want to see from them not only just, of course, get those basic placement points, I want to see them capitalize on a strong position, get a ton of eliminations. But of course, as you said, no, that 50-50 split of placement points and elimination is important. Hopefully they can try and pull it off in these next few matches, well, this next matchup today and the next few days.
I mean, they already showed us that they can get those eliminations, right? Even when they weren't getting those placement points, I think at one point they ended up with 9 eliminations and they weren't even in the top 10. That just goes to show what they are able to do, what they are capable of. And talking about consistency, I think that's kind of why I'm going back to Inco Gaming. Inco Gaming right now, I was surprised to see them in 2nd place, but then I was thinking about it, well, they're kind of getting lucky because the teams that are trying to catch up to them are actually not performing in the past 2 matches as well, but Inco Gaming needs to just get out of that. If not, they're not going to be in 2nd place at the end of the day.
I thought the start of the last game was really interesting well because of that, because we saw some very, I don't really want to say aggressive, too aggressive rotations at least, some fairly normal rotations, but they got caught off guard. And that's the first time that has happened so far. And I, myself as an experience as a player, I can tell when you get eliminated early on in a rotation, that trust in how your rotations are being done in certain circles, certain edges, that does kind of slip. Maybe sometimes it's just subconsciously, but it does kind of sometimes slip away, especially if you get hit with a absolutely, nasty spray like we've seen in the start of the early games there. And it didn't only hit one Brazil team, it hit both of these in the first 2 positions. So obviously not only Inco, but INF and A7 as well. All of these got eliminated early on, and all of these rotations didn't quite work out in Miramar.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you lose yourself a player or 2 in the early stage, of course, you're hoping to make those adaptations, make those changes on the fly, and of course, put yourself in a strong position. Run out, still looking at this venue. So it feels so surreal to be here. It's been 2 years, man, since we had like a live audience for PMGC Grand Finals. It feels so good to have everyone right here. And I mean, still waiting for that alter ego, like chicken dinner. Would be cool to finish off the day with it, please.
I feel like that's what we're all wishing for, right? If they do get it, I mean, hopefully tomorrow we'll have some merch from them so we can actually give them some support here as well. But I'm trying to think back. I'm trying to actually bring it back a little bit more. We were talking about the Brazilian teams too. I feel like Alpha 7, just the position that they put themselves there in the last Miramar, they allowed themselves to just be third party, I think, by 2 different teams, which wasn't great. And I feel like in the previous games as well, they were doing the same thing too. Godlike Stalwart, Max, we have to talk about
No,
them.
I don't want to.
Please.
I don't want to.
Please, Max, what's going on with them?
Unfortunately, I do not know. As I did say, it's a team that can make those changes. I said that about them and Nova, but I think that they're like prime examples of teams that after today's matches, they're going to go back home. Well, go back to the hotel, which is a great hotel, by the way. Definitely come around to visit. And I think that they're going to make some adaptations. I think that right now, it's not about them lacking aggressiveness. I think they've shown in the past. It's just the setups for specific fights and how they rotate in those positions is just sometimes a little bit off to me. And I think maybe a lack of scouting sometimes. Like, it does seem like there's a lack of information. So we'll see if Stalwart can make the changes. But I also picked them. You said no try. I picked them. It didn't work out. So I unfortunately, it's out of my hands. I have no power here.
We'll let it slide. We'll let it slide. And something that you mentioned earlier, too, is with Stalwart Esports, I mean, with Stalwart, Godlike Stalwart, is that they're not going to be making changes throughout the day. It's probably going to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to be really excited to see what kind of changes they do make tomorrow at the beginning of the day.
It is super interesting, just looking at the backstage area and that degree as well, because all of these teams have their coaches ready, analyzing, looking at the map stream while their players are obviously playing and preparing. And it's super interesting just watching over their shoulder and what they focus on in terms of circle shifts. What are the other teams reacting to that circle shift? And that information, as you said, specifically, Seven, that isn't always talked about during the games right now, but mostly after each day, right? So that's when the improvements most of the time actually do come into effect. And for example, I just saw, now that we have Fireflux here, just spoke to the Fireflux coach as well in between the games. And they were definitely looking at some of the Miramar circles. So who knows? Maybe some improvements for tomorrow.
But with Fireflux, it's a good bounce back. I mean, this was a team that was towards the bottom of the table when we were looking at the overall. And now for them to be able to get that win, it's going to be completely different. It's going to be a bit of a confidence booster for them, too. This is a team that you do have them finishing at least within the top 5. And if with what they showcase, I might start getting behind that, Max.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned during the team intros at the very start, like the team that currently, I believe, has the single record of 27 elimination for a single chicken dinner in the full season championship of Europe. And it goes to show this team that if they are in a position where they can achieve a chicken dinner, they tend to just dominate that one specific game. They just give you no breathing space if you're up against them. So that's why I just love so much about Fireflux. And of course, if they have a strong position like that, most of the time that chicken dinner is just not going to slip through their fingers.
And I think that's something I actually enjoy a lot that we have seen today. Every single time a team is put into a situation where they are either placed by the stone or they do end up with a great position, they end up taking full advantage of it. I mean, we saw it with Inco Gaming right from the get-go, right? And you mentioned it now with Fireflux too. What other team would you want to see in that situation where they just everything goes the right way and you think they will be able to take full advantage of it?
I got to go back to it, but like Buriram, I have just not seen them in that kind of position, because really, if they were in a game-winning position during the league stage, they would just dominate. Like, they would truly dominate. My Name P especially was the one that would just pop the hell off in a lot of these matches. I think we had a Pachinki finish at one point where he just completely shredded the lobby. I want to see Buriram in that position, like a position where, like, okay, this should be their game. Are they going to potentially throw it away, or are they truly going to be trying to secure that chicken dinner, get like double-digit eliminations? Unfortunately, so far, they've been silent as my Dark Horse team, and it's not been shown up as well as I wanted to.
Okay, for me, it would actually be Wolves Esports. I feel like they're finally starting to come into their own. I would like to see what would happen if they are put into that situation, and I think they can really showcase it. And now, maybe they're starting to feel a little bit more the other teams, right? It was going to take a little bit of time since they didn't get a chance to play in any of the group stages or anything like that. They just got straight sent to the grand finals. I feel like this team can definitely showcase a lot and can actually surprise a lot of people coming into tomorrow as well.
Well, we're talking about teams that are actually have the potential to surprise us. I want to talk about AE because they do have surprised me. They did have surprised me in that last game. Did you guys see that breach? I was looking at it backstage in the monitor, and you could just hear, I think, 3 buildings further down the street, you could still hear the screams of everyone in the audience. That was one hell of a breach. And with that kind of confidence, with that kind of explosiveness and the quick decision-making, I could once again, I know they haven't been performing that well today. I could 100% see them coming back.
I'm actually really happy you bring that up, because when we look back on that first game where we criticized them quite a bit, right, Seven, where we said they just didn't really want to defend their position on the edge of the circle, too passive, actually retreating further in the circle, which caused them to like just crumble apart at some point. That breach that you mentioned there, Falex, just showed a little bit more confidence. Like, okay, that didn't work out. We're willing to make that change of overall, like, the mentality of we just want to be a little bit more aggressive. If there's a fight that makes sense to take, we will take it. No hesitation. And that's the alter ego I want to see, not only for the rest of today, hopefully for the next 2 days of play.
100%, and I feel like if they would have played the group stages, right, if they would not have the direct invite, I think they would have already been in that position. I think this is a perfect symptom. Just like Wolves, I know we've talked about it already, but it's a perfect symptom of just not being 100% used. Not, you know, there is this subconscious process where you have to get used to a lobby. Used to these names, used to these rotations. It's every tournament is the same. There's this learning period.
Yeah, another factor with Alter Ego has to be the fan base. I mean, we can hear him, right? We can hear him trying to get hyped up. At what point does that start creeping into their mind, saying, hey, we're actually like not performing well and so many people came to support us? I feel like that extra pressure is going to be big on their shoulders coming into the next 2 days if they don't start performing at least a little bit better.
I gotta say, the audience though is absolutely wholesome. Like, even when they have a bad game, they're like, hey, let's go, next game is gonna be fine. So I gotta say the support is 10 out of 10 right now. Wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Yeah, 100%, but I feel like it's still gonna be eating the players in their mind.
Maybe a little bit. You know? That's a fair point to make though.
As you can see, the energy is still absolutely phenomenal here in Jakarta, Indonesia. And with that being said, we are heading over to the casters for the last game of PMGC 2022, day number 1. John Allen and Blank, take it away, boys.
We are getting into the final game of the day, Blank. It is only one more round to go so far, and then we will be 1/3 of the way through. Thank you very much.
That's
for the welcome to Indonesia.
For Nova, though.
That's for you specifically. Oh, is that Nova?
That's for Nova, yes, not me. Otherwise, I would have Telemaka said that.
Oh, well.
That bad boy.
Ah, well.
Oh, well.
A lot of Malaysian support, apparently, in the crowd
time.
as well.
Big time. It's really nice. It's really, really nice.
Showing up for the Geek Fam.
For them Geek Fam, the Geek Family, I am ready for this last game.
I think you are.
Yeah, I got my eyes peeled right now. Quite literally, I got a potato peeler earlier, and I was ready to go.
Yeah, I was wondering what you're doing with that.
Yeah, that's to ensure I can watch this game. Nothing's going to slip by me. I'm ready.
Well, we did have potatoes for dinner. I wondered if you'd been doing the catering, but no.
Yeah, I had potato dauphine.
That's right.
Dauphine.
Dauphine. Had a little bit of rice with that, and we are going to be making sure that the final game comes with perfect chicken dinner, maybe with a side of potatoes. If you are lucky, Frank will peel them for you. Primorsk to Lipovka plain path, a little bit further north than that, but it's going to be fairly kind yet. Again, no real drama on the plain path.
That's right, John. I mean, I like my chicken dinner, I like my dauphine, but can I get a whoop whoop? My dauphine, wow.
Whoa, whoa.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. That's what I really need today. I need this circle to head onto the screen shortly, but right now, play path fairly smooth. Down from Primos, all the way from Chinky School, up towards Mansion. It's happy days. It's a very, very nice playing path. It's been simple all day long. PMGC 2022 has not thrown us any of those curveballers, right? I've been ready with the bat. We've been batting them backwards, and there's been no foul play. It's really good to see. I love when this is the case because fair play makes me feel like I'm getting the right winner for PMGC.
I don't think that there has been a game where I thought, oh well, that was
maybe the Sandhawk,
potentially.
Yeah,
there was a little bit.
Well, right?
There was a little bit of favour there, but they did. Yeah, they fragged out. They defended it. They held it well. They got their angles right, and they played it as they should do. Fireflux, they did get shrunk on towards, but again, same story, right? They held out well, and they played it, I think, in the right way. So I am not unhappy about pretty much any of the results, and because of that, as you've just said, I am absolutely happy that with the fact that Alpha 7 is at the top right now.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone's pulled out the right dance moves today for the right occasion, for the right song, for the right dance floor. And I think that we've seen people deserve to be where they currently are. I think Alpha 7 going down that last game a little bit too early, though, has opened things up just a little bit. So Alpha 7 looking for a big game here on Erangel to really secure their spot. 26 points would see them at that big 100, breaking the triple-digit barrier. Not really an opportunity for any other team in the lobby currently so far. 57 points for Inco Gaming, S2G. 7 was talking about what I was talking about earlier. we did a switcheroo.
That's right.
I think that he was not hearing me at that current time. Though he was getting coffee or something. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But we were saying, you know, they kind of fizzle out towards the end of the day. Taper off. That's okay. You know, the nitro does tend to burn through very, very quickly. And that's fine. That's fine. For Inco, what it is for them is just getting up those points, getting them in, which is why this is the problem. This is why they might not get that first place spot, because I think that you do need to keep punching those numbers, especially on that last day. Again, though, Inco does have this weird thing where, you know, on that last day they switch it up. Well, that was a bird. No. They switch it up where they can do their big games at the end of the day, and they'd have some kind of rubbish games at the start of the day. We do have like some kind of weird ant colony currently on our monitors.
Yeah, it's
and John pointed one that was on the screen. I thought it was like, oh, there's a bird there. And I was like, oh, damn. And then it started moving upside down. I was like, birds don't do that.
No, they don't.
That's
not on
yeah.
What day of the week is it?
They're like our mates now, basically.
Not on a Friday.
Not on a
It's
Friday.
true. We have become.
Yeah. We're actually training them to carry coffee cups over towards us, like on a big ant train.
And to take them away to recycling as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
It's going well.
It is, I would say. Northeast circle shift comes through. Influence came in fairly central in Yasnaya to it. The only Brazilian team outside of the top 3 right now. Inco and Alpha 7 occupying the top 2 spots so far. All the way on the northern side, T2K, who have had, I wouldn't say a hugely awful day, but just really nothing special. Currently in 13th place, 23 points. It's not criminal, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's nothing that's going to get you sent to jail. No one's going to come around your place asking questions. I do have some questions for VPE, though. Like, what is going on? Can you be better, please?
And can I have a jersey, please?
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
That would be nice. I would like that. But
yeah, like Vampire do have pretty cool jerseys and merch, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like that red. I do think that Alter Ego currently so far has my attention, but that's kind of got like that Japanese anime vibe, and I think that's kind of why it particularly appeals to me.
Also, the Alpha 7 tech jacket there that 7 was modeling.
That is pretty cool.
Pretty cute.
I don't think I could pull that off, though. I think you got to be really cool like Alpha 7 to do that type of thing, and also 7 themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Alpha 7, but 7-7. 7 Worlds Gaming 7.
Yeah.
Don't you Minecraft villager me. That's unacceptable. Anyway, taking a quick look at the map here. Alter Ego, sent central. Obviously down towards A7 in Milta Power. Currently at the moment, Lipovka held by Buddhadam. Two teams kind of very much close to one another a lot of times during this day. That's absolutely fine. I think that they have come into contest with one another, and Buddhadam's kind of got the worst end of the stick there a lot of times when you come to things with Alpha 7. I think that's what has caused them to be down towards 11th place. I don't really think we've seen them. We've been able to see them get their big performances come out through just purely with Alpha 7 shutting them down early, and with their similar rotational paths. Ooh, it's just not good.
Not ideal.
That's correct.
Not ideal. We're on board with Nova right now. As I say that, we swap over to one of the other Chinese teams, but Nova will have to leave Gatka fairly soon. They've still got a little bit of time left on them. Wolves, they did better, I think, in that last game than they have done the entirety of the other games that they played so far today.
Still looked a bit scrappy, though.
They do want to try and convert on that performance here now in this last Erangel, and they're in not a terrible position to do so. They're at the back of the queue, though, in that south area of Yasnaya Fields.
Yeah, to kind of recap you guys on the day, if you've only just tuned in, Alter Ego, taking some shots, getting a little bit better as the day goes on. Still in 16th place with 10 points, but I think they have been kind of stepping up to the plate a little bit more often than not. But to recap you on the day, Alpha 7 currently blasting. Had some very consistent games, some really pop-off moments. Inco at the start of the day were looking exceptional. I think it was the second and the first place they were able to pull out. S2G kind of been more on that consistent vibe, right? It's not a load of chicken dinners, but it is a case of getting 10 points, 12 points every single game to get themselves at 49 currently that they're at, which is great news. That works out for them. And DRS kind of riding on the coattails of that first game of the day.
Jing Chen from 4 Angry Men will be leading the move to the east side of Yasnaya Polyana with a 2-2 split on their rotation, so they'll regroup onto the position that they find themselves. They're going to take up occupancy, potentially even on the east end of Yasnaya, but might go a little bit further south into a couple of the buildings, the compounds just to the side of those Yasnaya fields. The circle kind of undecided right now in terms of going north or south of that river, which is always a big sticking point for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it's kind of difficult for a lot of teams to figure out where they want to go next. So again, this is one of our fairer circles. You don't really have to think about going down towards that western bridge. You have to think about holding around. And especially if you are one of these teams down towards Sosnovka like Stalwart, you do have to worry about teams gatekeeping you, because more than likely they're more concerned about heading up towards that northern side, find themselves a position in the map, and then playing from there.
S2G, they're playing on this northern side of the river with a little bit of a 2-2, I say a little bit, they are playing a 2-2 split with the island central to the river currently being their second outpost across the way from Hamzy and Silas. IHC currently split around this position. You can't really see it on the minimap, but they are there. A little bit further out. 4 Angry Men, they have got this compound to the east side of the Yasnaya fields. They did skirt around and take position out on this side. 4AM have been, they were talking about it on the desk, quietly consistent today. They've had a couple of really quite strong performances, but they're 43 points right now, absolutely in the conversation to be towards that third place, only 6 points behind S2G on 49, and I would say they've been fairly put together. You spoke about how it's reformed this roster around Svan. I think they've done so incredibly well. Obviously, getting that direct qualification spot from the group stages as well. They've had a great time with it, and they've managed to keep themselves nice and consistent moving in. A little bit further behind Alpha 7, but if that momentum comes to a halt, then absolutely possible for them to start to catch up. Shots over towards Wolves, but not really going to land too much damage.
Not too much damage done. You're right, though. 4AM have been able to really regroup and reform fantastically well. Happy with the performance they've been able to put out so far. 43 points. It's unfortunate losing a player, though. That is to alter egos along the way. Inco also could be taking shots towards them. But again, this kind of circle, Yasnaya up towards that northwestern side. There's a nasty fielded area up there, that kind of pizza slice you don't really want to get too much into, but there's also the fielded area down towards the south side of Yasnaya. I think most teams would be preferring this headed over towards the west side of the circle. Give them a lot more opportunity to play, a lot more opportunity to take some, I'd say, preemptive action, you know, holding on the sides of the bridges, taking some positions to hold out rotates. If you head over towards Yasnaya, it's just going to be a free-for-all who can get into Yasnaya compounds the fastest and the best ones.
Inco needing to keep up the pace. We spoke about it at the start of the day, and Seven highlighted it as well over on their desk just before. This is a team that they started out strong today. We absolutely knew that they were capable of doing that, but we were worried, and you said this as well, that they do fall off. They lose that momentum in a way that some other teams, like Alpha 7, kind of don't do. And we've pretty much seen that come to pass here. In the final game, though, they still find themselves in second place, so maybe they can reset for tomorrow.
Yeah, again, this is what I was talking about at the beginning, is they will continue to do well. And I think for Inco, honestly, a top 3 spot would be fantastic. That would be really good for Brazil. It would be really good for them in general as a team. I just don't know if they've got the chops on them to take that first place. If they have the chops on to continue this kind of performance through day 2 and day 3. They've proven me wrong more times than I can count, though, so I'm not willing to count them out just yet. So we'll wait till that last day. I think for Inco, this is just a case of a wonderful story unfolding in front of us, and hopefully, you know, these 2 Brazilian teams towards that top side can continue to duke it out for that first and second place.
Inco central position. They have a compound to the west side of the Yasnaya fields. They're in probably a prime location for a south side circle shift to go to the south of the river. If it goes north, though, they might struggle just a little bit. We might even see them try and go through the river and ford the river between the 2 bridges, because if they send south, they'll hit opposition. This is going to be a south shift, though, and won't be too much of a problem for Inco.
Yeah, this is horrible. This is real nasty. It's not good for any teams. Yasnaya, Poliana practically cut out this point in time. I don't think a lot of teams are going to be thinking this is going to be defined upon Yasnaya. This is most likely going to be around the fielded area. Obviously, the road size that meshes through on the map. It's going to be a rough one. It's going to be very, very difficult to play. S2G, though, can wrap around Yas Lake. So can Fireflux. The 2 Turkish teams taking very similar rotations at the moment. See exactly who could find the better position. Fireflux, though, rotating 2-2 currently with S2G at a full 4-man. So you might see Ketch and Lutz get into a bit of trouble.
Scry, though, the first one to tangle with a Mini 14, the wrong end of one anyway. Not going to have a good time with that. S2G have managed to get around the headland to the east side of the Yasnaya Lake. Behind them, as you said, Fireflux just a little bit behind on the queue. Wolves get spotted out, and actually Memory is going to be flushed away. T2K on the north side of the position held by Inko on those hills near the bridge crossing to the west of Yasnaya. T2K will spot the Wolves, and the Wolves are kind of penned in at this stage in their position. They can't really find a way out without having to take a fight.
Yeah, this is... You push the Wolves into a corner, you kind of don't want to be around for this. Depends if you can continue to move forward, maybe try and take them out on a very aggressive push, but I think at this point in time you just leave them there, happy with the knowledge of their position, try to pick up somewhere better to play from. Inko, really nice spot at the moment. Very, very good spot within the circle, and it is surprised me. A lot of these teams tend to be playing these outer edges. And Inko's just like, well, that is the priority compound within the circle. We're going to take it. And I think it just is that sense. So a lot of these other teams are assuming that it's already taken at this point in time. So essentially the only team that is taking it is Inko, because everyone else thinks it's already taken. I kind of like it. It's a bit of a weird false sense of security for Inko, though, because they are just sending towards these spots. And I think it's more careful gameplay by a lot of these other teams that is allowing these positions to be open. But hey, what the hell, if Inko can take that, or they can play from that position, let him.
Law has been forced into an engagement here, but is navigating it fairly well and successfully, I would say. Fireflux should know that he's behind the wall, but he can put a nade through. That's perfectly placed, but Solke just about shimmies out the way, has another one in the pocket, and can look to throw that one down. Ketch wants to suppress, but it bounces back in the wrong form, and doesn't quite burst out. Spots the player jumping out. Solke, position known, can't quite thread the needle under the vehicle. Molotov over, forces the fight, and Law now doesn't really have too much backup from across the way. Out in the field, the teammates need to stand strong, and it looks like they're going to try to do so from the tower. They're looking for suppressing fire on Over, and Solke wants to move out to get these reses. A lovely little headshot through the window, but Solus is flushed. Law is answered on towards as 4 angry men move into the Wolves' position. WWX goes down, so does Fan, and that is a really swift wipe over onto 4 angry men. Nicely found there, and the Wolves stay alive. 4 eliminations coming through for the Chinese squad that direct qualified with invite. Over, another Chinese squad. Going to be going down as well, potentially, if Fnatic has anything to say about it. And Nova fall.
Alter Ego, 4 eliminations, meaning they picked up all 4 members of Nova, the current reigning champions. I think if anything's a win today for Alter Ego, that one right there is it. Fantastic stuff from them. What an aggressive push. And again, we should maybe see a little bit more of that coming out from Alter Ego. It's worked a fair few times where they have just full sent it. They look like they're very comfortable in a team fight, but maybe a little afraid to take those team fights more often than not. Very well done there to Alter Ego. They're going to be hugely happy with that.
They also managed to slam a knock over towards Vampire, so that's going to slow down Vampire's position. With the circle as it is, they have a valuable south side area under their control in the buildings that they occupy. The high ground that they have, valuable, certainly, to be moving on with. Geek Fam, ooh, they've been rolled on down. It's actually not even sure who managed to pick that one up. I think DRS did manage to get the rundown and the flush through. Fireflux, they are getting pressured on towards as they tried to send out to the western side away from Yasnaya, as Influence Kemen do pretty much control the entirety of Yasnaya fields from the central area. Fireflux will fall down and out of the final game of the day. Match number 6 will end there for them.
It's still kind of a horrible position to be in. I think Influence Kemen made the best out of a bad situation, which is a case of we're just going to take shots at everyone who tries to cross this field, because that was exactly what we saw 4AM fall prey to, which is they knew they had to make the crossing, and they had to make the crossing quick, send directly into Wolves, and then you get out of the vehicle, you just have to take that team fight right off the bat. You don't have much time to react. It's just pure mechanical skill in that moment.
A nade out the side of the window leaves S2G on 2 players. A lovely nade over the top from Revo, spots Hamzy exactly where they needed him. The flush comes through from Carrillo. Only Mythic has gone down for Alpha 7. And this is how they might want to start their run for 100 points if they're lucky. If they behave themselves, if they've been good this year, maybe they'll be given one.
Yeah, very good play there coming through from Alpha 7 so far. S2G, last player standing, tries to pick up the teammate, but Alpha 7, again, it's that momentum. They're going to keep pushing it, going forward. There's no stopping this.
Kayovski?
S2G just sends in the water. And so does Kayovski from Influence Kemin.
I've no idea where Influence Kevin just came from. They must have sent straight out those fields. They needed to find a way westward, and this is apparently the way they want to go. Unfortunately, Alpha 7 will try and slow them down. One knock over towards Alpha 7 leaves two active. Same story for Influence Kemin. Federal unlikely to be able to get back, but if he can fall over that headland towards the rest of the players from his team, he should be resable. Unfortunately, the health bar will not support that effort. And two players now remain for Influence Kemin. Kelsey swimming in the river under the bridge, and everybody's going to need to shift down south.
This is a rip and tear coming through from Alpha 7 so far. They're looking to put the final touches on this northern side circle. Next one heads up central. Still that riverbank is in for the western side. Kelsey could maybe swim ashore and crawl his way in and just play for the end game. Get as many points as possible for S2G with where they're currently placed on the rankings. I think trying to go for that top 6, that top 5 is probably the smartest thing for that boy to do at this point in time. But T2K, Wolves, Inco still holding strong in that compound. But they'll have to move west as well.
Alter Egos on the southeast side will have to hold off against Geek Fam and potentially even push in against Vampire. Geek Fam will not be able to slow down here, though. They will have to go over this ridge towards the buildings there. The smokes have bloomed pretty close to Alter Egos. It cuts off the sightlines from up top, but does allow potential close pushes to come through. Vampire's holding off against DRS, trying to swing around wide. And it goes well. Two players now left for DRS, Delta and Gianti. On the south. Sneaking around, trying to hold it out. Vampire huddled, hunkered down under the watchful gaze of Geek Fam and Alter Egos. Hang on a minute, T2K, they're taking the shots over towards Alpha 7, giving out heavy punishment. Only one player left standing. Revo flushed out. Carrillo, the last available for Alpha 7. No 100 points today.
Done and dusted. Looked like it could go further. We said that T2K were looking kind of like that team, that nothing special came through, but taking down the first place team in the lobby fairly cleanly. It's certainly something to be proud of there. With 7 eliminations, takes them up to 30. Placed them just behind Buddhadam so far in 11th place. Great nade. There's a fair bit of damage. Now Lil Boy's looking to send one back. S2G, last player remaining.
Oh my goodness me, Kayovski super low. You have to stick this, but the nade's coming through. An excellent answer, drop down, evade the nade. Kayovski needs to get res. Can he get it? Can he tag it? Oh, he's managed to fade the nade also. And 2 players stay alive from Influence Kemin. No, what? How did that happen? Was the blue zone there? Did he jump off the res?
I think he might have jumped off the res for just a second. It's point in the day, those kind of mistakes do come through. Just a little tap. That's it. That's all it takes. Especially when he's on that amount of HP. Basically as thick as a feather there. Looking down to Wolves. Still going pretty strong so far. Did lose 1 player in the process. VPE also lost 1. I think this would be a good opportunity for VPE to put some points on the board right now from this south side. And if they can, you know, maybe tomorrow is a little bit easier because still, right, 21 points. Only 20 points behind a 5th place here currently at the moment with Geek Fam at 43. You know, there's a real opportunity with a chicken dinner at the end of the day. That first place is still in sight. I think when we get through to that 6th game tomorrow, that's where we'll start to see the leaderboard solidify a little bit more.
Next circle coming in just a moment, in just a second, and it heads up north, away from Inco. They will have to leave their compound finally, but it goes towards the last player from Influence Kemin and towards T2K with a massive chunk of this next circle available to them. Buddhadam as well from the eastern side.
Inco still going though for Brazil.
Sheesh.
Looking at it from forward, Alter Ego. Goodness me, quick shots, quick fire.
Ponbet lights up Micah and lights up Jakarta as well. The crowd goes wild for the shots. Beautiful through the window there. Snipes wants to move forwards, but Fantastic. Fnatic going to lead the charge in. Potato with the backup as well. They managed to get the side swipe through. Potato hits the deck behind the wall, drains the magazines of the defense as well for GeekFam, and they are not able to land the shots on the answer, but the two back players at the back for Rodrigo. Oh, gonna go low. Oh no, Potato taken down. One player now standing. It's just Honbit. He was able to do so much from the back before, but now Micah is back up and kicking. Snipes as well, moves forwards. A flush over onto Fnatic. 3 players active for GeekFam. One has been found. Honbit with a second as well, and that's GeekFam going down. He stays alive, and Alter Ego with the last match of the day. Keep 2 of themselves up, and it's 6 eliminations.
From Nova all the way to GeekFam, they've certainly set themselves a pace here in this final game. Looking to go a little bit further now. Inco, 4 players alive, will have to skirt themselves out of this corner over on the east. Moving up towards Wolves' position. This is where we start to hit those wheels, start getting them screeching a little bit as we pass over that starting line.
Go on, Honbit. The hero for Alter Ego, now looking to smoke his cross, but with Inco paying attention to you, you've got to wonder how likely it is you get much further here. Honbit hits the deck, looks for a heal, but the zone is closing still. It will not tag him before he gets the heal off, and actually manages to stand up, send some shots back towards Inco, and gets on his feet again. Those 2 legs doing so much work. Shimmies behind the tree, stays in it. Squash has yet to find the angle, and finally, oh, a little bit of craziness to end out their day. 6 eliminations. They'll take it. They'll take it.
That gives time for Vampire Esports to move over towards that position, though. They certainly got some information from the third party. They were close by enough. Wolves also take a casualty. I think that's down to 2 players now. 5 eliminations. T2K at 8. Really strong spot they're currently holding over towards that northern side, and no one can challenge them.
Wolves, 2 players alive against Inco, playing with 2 up the top as well. Becker behind the tree, auto shotgun, wants to move closer. Pickfeet is there, and IHC are pushing in behind the Wolves. Squash is down and close to the Wolves with IHC bearing down upon them. It's unlikely you get Squash back up, but if the time is right, might be able to get it. No, Beautiful sees to it, and that's not going to be possible. Alex does get spotted out. And 10 eliminations coming from T2K from the bottom of the tables. They have had a pretty solid match number 6. Into the top 5 they go. See how much further they can get.
Wolves right now still looking to send this a little bit closer. Inco. Nenebede still up. Becker. Wolves. Beautiful goes down, and Inco might be able to capitalize on the top of this. Oh, the nade goes over the top. Pickfeet will not continue on that one. I think Nenebede might be able to find this shotgun play.
He's still got a pump action shotgun. Surprised about that. Interesting choice, to be sure. Wolves.
They've looted nothing. You can see from his gear.
Yeah, they must have been completely bare there. Big feet. Oh, no, he knows Becker's there. Cooks the nade. That's almost certainly a knock, and Nenebede will be left alone. Hopefully they spotted where the nade came from. The buggy should be a giveaway, but IHC are pushing in as well. They don't want to let the players here go. Look at that, T2K managed to steal that elimination point away. And a phenomenal game coming through from the team from Nepal as well.
Currently influenced Kevin, Lil Boy, on the northern side. Not moved an inch at the moment. May even look for a very good finish here for themselves.
And Nenebede outlasts the Wolves, but close by there is danger. Legend steps forwards. They don't know he's here. He steps up with a pump action, goes for one. Doesn't get the knock. He turns his attention the wrong way, and now he's going to hit the deck and bite the dust for it. A little bit of a slip. He thought he got the knock instantly, but panic sets in, and now we're down to 3. Influence Kemin with Lil Boy against a 4-player roster from T2K on 14 eliminations, and IHC with 3 still pushing in from the south side.
An absolute standout game here from Nepal, from T2K. Really brought this game home. Influence Kemin still going. This is just 2 players looking down towards IHC. The rest are trying to hold out. That 1 player for Influence Kemin and Lil Boy. This guy is one hell of a snaker, though.
If IHC can do a lot of work on this south side, even if they go down, that does give Lil Boy a little bit of an opportunity for Influence Kemin to step up further. But no matter what, this is a big point bonus for Influence Kemin. He has two himself to deal with on this north side. They've repositioned. They've left only one over on this north side now. IHC, they managed to get this red through as well. A lot of pressure being put on here, and the shift goes southwest as well. IHC have the inside track on this flank.
Yeah, so technically you also have a potential 1v1, and that knock is absolutely huge just as the circle shifts across. This is going to slow down T2K massively.
Another nade launched by Godless. Lil Boy has got a powerful position here. They're right next to each other. Look at that. The off angles for both of these teams here will struggle to find any sort of safety. Everybody dashing now towards this circle. T2K with one player down, looking to try and stick this res. Demo, he's on the downstairs, but there's an upstairs threat as well. Jane is there still. Rig moving on in to add to the pressure. And in the midst of it all, do they know that Lil Boy is here?
Mark 14 by the bankside, looking to take this chicken dinner home, store it away in the vaults. Demo bandaging up, has the threat above him. Now T2K kind of split off between one another. This was a really good regroup and hold from IHC. From a very tough situation to a beautiful nade that opened up that shift, that rotation over towards this spot where Jane currently is playing. Riggs had to move up though. They're trying to evict. Demo moves out. This is crazy stuff, and he nades his teammate.
Rick, what are you doing? Miscommunication bites them. And T2K losing a forward outpost. That is so much ground for IHC to try and move through. Lil Boy also potential to capitalize on this. Two players at the back for T2K. There's no way you get this res now. Demo giving them the old do-si-do, and Rig spoils his own team's chances here. Influence Kemin might even be in with a shot if things go pear-shaped for either of these two teams. Godless falls, maybe answering with a knockover on up towards T2K, but it's not going to happen. Godless flushed, and there it is. Zeol finally standing up for IHC. Legend now in the thick of it. Last zone about to encroach. Zeol moves through. They know there's a further player all the way out wide. And IHC, probably the only team with the full information here that there is a solo snaking around. Demo, you can see that he is moving through. Zeol, a really brilliant opener. And there's two players from IHC active. Low HP from Zeol. Rig looking for Demo, hits the deck for the drop shot, and maybe able to find it. Demo falls down, and there's a chance for Influence Kemin to come through strong here. Rig last standing for T2K will keep them going. Zeol is there. And it's 1 versus 1 versus 1. No chance of reses. And Lil Boy is still going. Zeol from behind the rock looks for the challenge. The burn forces him back, and Rig looks for a second. Managed to get the heal off, so he's got the HP to play with. Full magazines on both sides, and in they go for the flush. Rig still active here. Zeol, no nades to fear. Pushes up high on the rock. That is bold as brass. Zeol still fading it around the edge. And Lil Boy's just being quiet.
Waiting for this fight to conclude. He has full broadside over towards Zeol. Zeol's done a marvelous job to take down the majority of the players of T2K. Keeps looking down towards Influence Kemin's position here. Rig goes for some HP. A little bit more. Kemin found. Zeol is absolutely putting on a masterclass right now. Looks to finish it off.
There it is around the side of the rock. It's IHC. To be able to take things down right at the closing moments. T2K, a disastrous nade from Rig. Started a collapse that brought down the House of Cards.
I mean, Joel, from the moment he stepped up to the plate there, he just looked marvelous. I don't think he was going to let that one take away. As soon as he saw that nade from Brig, hit one of their teammates. Obviously, at that point in time, T2K is absolutely scrambling for help. They're looking for anything they can find, and Zeol just capitalizes on the panic like Batman, drops in, swoops in, turns off the light. Quick 1-2 punch, and T2K are running scared.
Now that's what I call vengeance from IHC. That off angle was so pivotal as well for him to be able to operate so freely in that area of the map without the threat.
I mean, the fact that he took that position, tried to bait Lil Boy out whilst also maintaining pressure onto Rig there, it's a really, really hard play because you are splitting your attention in a 180-degree angle, being able to go and see you're behind, look towards your front, look towards your behind, make sure Lil Boy's not moved out. Yeah, I think it was a great play as well because he exposes himself to Lil Boy, knowing that Lil Boy's waiting for that fight to conclude. He doesn't want to take the fight with T2K who can get behind that rock. He wants to fight Zeol, so it gives Zeol all the time in the world. It's just so good, and that's why I call it a masterclass, because that is tactical play coming through from Zeol.
And not only that, even if you know that Little Boy is going to try and chime in on that fight, it's likely that he's going to target the player that you're fighting because you're looking the opposite direction. It's more likely that they're going to be a threat to him, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to try and take down that threat to him instead of shooting you in the back and potentially just being spotted by the player further up the hill and going down.
You just want to wait. You just want to wait for that fight to conclude and then take down the player that you have broadside on. It is very smart from Zol, and I think he played to the mindset that we saw Little Boy in there, which is a little bit greedy, honestly. I think if I'm Little Boy, I'd just take the shots over towards Zol, but it was Little Boy wanting the chicken dinner. I mean, you got to respect it. They want the points.
To be fair, Influence Kemin, they are the furthest down the table of the Brazilian rosters right now, but still a third-place finish there. I didn't quite catch how many eliminations they had. I think they had a couple on the board, but still, they managed to put up some decent numbers. T2K, however, I would say they lost that rather than IHC won.
Yeah.
Obviously with Zol's exception.
I think, yeah, I'd suppose so. Anyway, see you guys later after the highlights tomorrow, but for now, the desk.
Welcome back to the desk and the match rankings after one of the most interesting games that we have seen so far in PMGC 2022 Grand Finals. I don't even know where to start, honestly. T2K was first. Even after they lost the game, I just saw 28 points, even after losing that game, a game that I was so sure they had in their bags. Maybe they forgot it was not the show match anymore.
I know
Maybe.
what, 28 points. Did they really lose the game? I wouldn't really count that as a loss.
Actually, I still do.
Yeah, technically I guess it is. Okay, Chicken Dinner did go the way of IHC, but hey, IHC took himself a Chicken Dinner, but Zol, absolute masterclass there. Yeah, I think he understood at a split second. He's like, wait, I should be taking a 1v2 right now.
Yep.
But if they still had two players, they would have pushed me together. I would be dead right now. There must be a solo somewhere remaining in the shadows. And he instantly turns over, spots Little Boy, takes him down to go back onto his 1v1. That is an insane play from him to allow to get their first chicken dinner.
The awareness that he showcased at that moment, it was tremendous. And I love that he was able to kind of look towards where he thought that player was going to be. And then he just kept going back until Little Boy finally made a movement and he went for that shot. I feel like Little Boy, man, he should have realized that he was spotted and he should have taken a shot.
With fire, yeah.
He waited too long.
I do want to say one thing. Something that's completely got overlooked now was Demo actually staying in that tower for so long and disrupting the ability from T2K to just focus on towards one side, because that is what they ultimately lost them their game, right? Ooh. They had to refocus, turn around. Nice. Wow. Let me just finish that one for 1 second. Then we can look at the overall rankings. They had to turn around, focus on Demo. That's where the mistake happened eventually, and that kind of split their forces after what was almost a perfect game for them so far, right? They focused onto watch both sides almost perfectly. But looking at the overall rankings, top 3 is all Brazil.
Wow, and look at that. All the 3 Chinese teams here from the PL are just not looking too hot on this first stage 7, unfortunately. Look, go Brazil, but where's go China? No, now does not have any opportunity to do so. It's day 1. We can see some changes, but the clock is ticking.
Remember my pick at the beginning of the day for the show match?
It wasn't a show match. Actually, that was your prediction for the day.
I didn't want to tell you guys that he was my prediction for the MVP.
He was seeing in the future.
But Revo being able to come out on the MVP, 13 eliminations for himself, 2,800 damage. That's impressive. And that was what I was talking about, too, at the beginning of the day. That player has been able to perform so well for this whole season. He continues to perform that way, too. It's not just about Carrillo. It's not just about the other players like Mafioso, Mythic. Revo is showcasing what he's capable of here.
I really have the impression that not only for Alpha 7, but the Brazilian teams as a whole Brazil is known to be a very, very aggressive kind of like region as a whole. It works so well right now in terms of Olim, so keep it up, boys. It's great.
That will be it for today from us at the Dish, from the casters. PMGC Day 1, we will be heading into an interview, so stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
Stage where we are joined by one of the team members of the leading team after Day 1. We are joined by Revo from Alpha 7. Congratulations and, you know, maintaining first place throughout today. You know, this can be seen as a double-edged sword because in the one hand, you have this huge boost of confidence after Day 1. But on the other hand, going into Day 2, you kind of have a target on your back. There's a bit more pressure. Do you feel that?
Então, parabéns pela vitória de hoje. Ele disse que, tipo, por ser campeão no primeiro dia, tem a vantagem que vocês vão ter um aumento na moral. E o problema é que também pode ter uma pressão aqui, por causa que todas as outras equipas vão vir atrás de vocês. Vocês se sentem assim?
Não, acho que aumenta a confiança e isso é bom pra gente. É bom até certo ponto, mas a gente tem que saber regrar isso para a confiança não atrapalhar a gente.
So he said, yeah, of course, you boost like the morale for the whole team, but of course they have to be careful to not to go like overhead.
Oke, teman-teman semuanya, kita sudah bersama Revo di sini dari Alpha 7, salah satu tim yang memang hari ini luar biasa sekali permainannya. Dan setelah mereka mendapatkan posisi pertama dari leaderboard untuk hari ini mungkin bisa dibilang adalah sebagai pedang bermata dua untuk mereka semua. Bisa jadi ini menambahkan atau meningkatkan tingkat kepercayaan diri mereka atau justru memberikan pressure tersendiri untuk mereka semuanya. Tetapi menurut Revo sendiri, yes, ini meningkatkan kepercayaan diri mereka, tetapi mereka tetap harus hati-hati untuk esok hari. Apalagi besok hari kedua adalah hari yang paling menentukan juga.
Well, you and your team played very consistently today, but it was that 14 elimination chicken dinner that really made all the difference when it came to the points. Now, going into that match, were you always planning on going in that aggressively?
Então, ele disse que vocês jogaram muito constante hoje, mas que fez a diferença foi a vitória que vocês tiveram com as 14 eliminações. Indo para essa jogada, vocês queriam mesmo jogar muito na ofensiva?
Acho que o estilo do jogo da Alpha 7 é agressivo. Quando a partida realmente caixa, a gente, quando ganha com muita kill.
So like for the team, they actually play like on the offensive. So when they win, normal they win like with a lot of kills.
Oh yes, of course. Dan teman-teman sekalian, karena memang tadi kemenangan mereka yang paling berkesan adalah WWCD plus 14 total elimination point yang which is itu sangat besar sekali. Dan tadi memang Revo mengakui kalau memang playstyle dari Alpha 7 ini agresif. Jadi ketika mereka mendapatkan WWCD atau kemenangan, biasanya mereka memang mendapatkan double digit atau banyak eliminasi point.
Now, speaking of playstyle, let's talk a little bit about tomorrow, because being in first place after Day 1 kind of gives you a luxury of choosing how you want to play Day 2. So, speak about tomorrow. You could play a bit more passively and just play for those position points, or you could go out the gates aggressively again. What's your plan?
Então, como vocês ficaram hoje em primeira posição, tem a chance de escolher amanhã como podem jogar. Vão continuar jogando na ofensiva ou vão jogar na defensiva, só mantendo os pontos?
Acho que a gente vai continuar da mesma maneira, continuar agressivo, porque se a gente mudar nosso estilo do jogo pode acabar prejudicando a gente, então é isso, continuar agressivo sempre.
So no, they like keep like the same aggressive playing for tomorrow, because they are afraid like if they try to change the way they play, they might be like a disadvantage for tomorrow.
Oke, jadi memang Alpha 7 sendiri akan terus bermain seperti biasanya mereka saja, bermain agresif, karena pastinya kita tahu semuanya lah ya, kalau misalnya satu tim bermain tidak seperti biasanya, mereka akan takut sesuatu hal yang tidak dienakan atau tidak mereka inginkan akan terjadi. Jadi Alpha 7 besok akan tetap bermain seperti sedia kala atau seperti biasanya.
Well, Revo, thank you so much for joining us here on the main stage for your interview. Congratulations on all your success for you and your team after Day 1, and we wish you all success going forward for the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Everyone, give it up one more time for Alpha 7.
Whoa. Alpha 7.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you to all the fans both here in Jakarta and at home for watching and supporting your favorite teams. Thank you so much to the production team for putting on this incredible show and building this enormous and very impressive stage. Thank you so much to all of the talent and of course my incredible co-host Donna for all of your hard work. And Tomorrow we're going to have 6 more matches and things are really going to start to heat up as we get ever closer to that trophy and that $1.5 million prize pool. My name is Banks. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll see you tomorrow.
Jadi teman-teman semuanya, kita sudah sampai di penghujung acara untuk hari pertama di PMGC 2022 Grand Final kali ini. Terima kasih banyak kepada